Good evening, everybody. This is CmdrAleon. This is the late night edition of Encounters, the spiritual UFO talk show. It is 11:34 p.m., so we're a little bit like 30 minutes late coming on, but we're just working on some stuff with our AirPods, and we just came on now. So welcome to the show, everybody, and we'll be on for a little bit here, 11:30 till 1. So we're going to do a 1.5 hour show tonight. Hope you're all doing well and having a good weekend. We are as well with our apple cider. And this is our regular encounter show. There, bear everybody coming in, all the new people, all the regulars, welcome to our show. So whoever is to be here will be here, right? Our show from last night will be downloaded. I haven't downloaded last night's program, but it will be Johnny of the Third Kind. Welcome, brother. Yes, you are. Yogi, welcome to the show. And we will be getting to guest interviews the way it works tonight, just to give you kind of an understanding. The way we do it when we do start doing interviews, you must be over 18 years old, number one. Number two, no foul language, no smoking, no drinking of any sorts, no paranormal discussion, and, pretty much that's it. I don't think I've left anything really out. And also, just to give people a background, I am the host of WESU's Sunday morning show, The Cosmic Guy, on NPR Radio, Pacifica affiliate, WESUFM.org worldwide, and for 21 years. I'm a contactee. My background is also, I do workshops with people, getting them set up to go off planet. Young Skywalker, welcome to the show. And so we do a lot of things in our online stuff. We do quite a bit of stuff. Voice of One, welcome to the show. Marinette, good to see you. Peace, love, and light. And we will be doing some interviews tonight. Again, we talk about UFO sightings, your encounters with space people, crop circles, mer people, also the fairies. We get into all the cosmic galactic areas of discussion here. So welcome to Encounters. If you're new to the show, glad to have with us on a Saturday night, right? And we're on the East Coast of the U.S., broadcasting to folks all over the world who are tuning in. Deborah, good to see you. Fiona, welcome. Mark Dobbins, welcome to our show. Everybody come in. Vito, Jesus loves us all. The only way to heaven is through him alone. Brother Nick, I have news for you. Cosmically speaking, many of us do believe in Jesus, but not in a religious way. We believe in Jesus as a cosmic brother. He's a star being from the stars. So if you get out of the religious aspect of Jesus, I've talked about it before on the show, Jesus is certainly a star seed, a cosmic being of light. Hey, K. Smith, good to see you. Nachia Neves, welcome to our show Encounters. Marzi Bar, welcome to the show. Heather Woods, welcome. And Xena, good to see you. Good evening. Driss, thank you for the likes. Rhonda, hey Rhonda, good evening to Encounters. Derek, good evening as well. Cat Life. Liz Yarrow, welcome Liz. Luna, welcome to the show. Hey Cliff, good to see you. Papa Smurf, welcome. We also went out of body earlier. We seem to go out of body a lot lately, but good to see you. Hey Rod, welcome to the show, Rod. Good to see you, brother. Ruby, welcome Ruby. Everybody coming in here. And as I always say, who's ever to be here tonight will be here. You know? And let's see, we've got all kinds of good people here. Bernie, welcome Bernie. Patricia Gill, welcome Patricia Gill. Karen Stevenson, welcome. Karen82, welcome. Hey Bernie, good to see you. Everybody coming in here, welcome to the show. As you find out, if you're new to the show, the Commander welcomes all new people to our show. This is an actual show, so the thing between us and other TikTokers is we do a show. We do a radio show and we do a TikTok show. James Snyder, good to see you. Welcome. And if you missed last night's show, it will be downloaded on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel for all my past programs are Ashtar Command Spaceship News. So it's Ashtar Command Spaceship News. That's my YouTube channel. I really don't do any lives there, but that's where all my encounter shows are. Jackie F., thanks for joining us. Everett, welcome to the show. Catherine. And hey, definitely good to see everybody here. So we cover the spiritual aspects of ufology. We don't get into the nuts and bolts. There's enough of that on the table out there on YouTube and whatever. We interview people about their contacts with space people. We interview people about Bigfoot. We talk about things of the mer people, the fairies, like I said, the star people, our star family, or non-terrestrial beings. We talk about all the things: the inner Earth, the Agartha network, the space people living within the Earth, all that stuff. We get into everything. So if you want to be on the show, you need to give us a sense as to what your topic is. Before I just pull you right on the show, I need to know what you want to talk about. So I know I have a good understanding what your topic is related to our show. Normally I would wear my AirPods, but they're not syncing up to my phone, which I don't understand why. And it's green and they're charged up, so I'm pretty much going to wait till my daughter gets back so I can tell her what's happening and she can actually play around with it. But good to have everybody with us here. Isa, welcome Isa. Kaya, welcome Alex, welcome to the show. Lavella, good to see you. Kadar Oz, welcome. Ace's New Beginning, welcome Kitty Mama, thanks for the likes. Norm Miss, welcome to Encounters. Ernestine, welcome. Paranormal Ghostbusters, welcome. Little Old Something, welcome JC, welcome to our show. I got no coins today. That's all right. Don't worry about the coins, Paranormal. You're good. You're definitely good. No problems. And again, when I do interviews, I'd like to get some idea of what the topic is related to what you've had happen. Have you been taken off planet? Have you had encounters with light beings? Have you you've been recording UFO activity? Hey, Gary, good to see you. All those things. We love to certainly know where that's coming from, what's going on out there. Sometimes when you reboot the phone, it will fix the earphone hookup. Yeah, we did the reboot. It didn't do it. I don't know what's going on, and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm usually technically minded, so I'm just going to wait till I see my daughter tomorrow, and I'll have her take a look at it. Either that, or I'll go to my little phone place if they're open on Sunday and have them take a look at it. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. We went from 250 something to under 200. How does that happen? This is the thing with TikTok I don't understand. The algorithm invites all these people, and I understand probably they're wondering what it is. So I'm pretty sure it's the TikTok algorithm that's doing it, And let's see. Hey, Fred Collins, good evening. Amy, thanks for joining us. Let's see here. Rachel, thank you for the heart. We appreciate that. And coming up May 25th on a Saturday, hey, Penny, hello, good evening. We're going to have an Ashtar Command CE5 event. We do this, we set these up here in Connecticut, and we're going to be doing an Ashtar Command CE5. You can check my main video out on my Ashtar Spaceship News page for May 25th. If you are in the New England region or what have you, and you wish to participate with us directly in an apple orchard field, when we do this, please contact me. All the information is on the Ashtar Command Spaceship News or Ashtar Spaceship News page with my video that's there. It talks a little bit about what's happening, and there's an email there for you to email me directly from the show regarding our C5 event. So it's going to be an important event, And Sasula Mama, good to see you. Bridget, welcome to the show. Kitty Mama, welcome. Thank you for join my team. We appreciate that very much. So we have some really beautiful things happening at the end of May, and we hope you'll be able to join us. Okay, for those that can. When you do come, if you do want to participate and we interconnect on email, one of the things that we're really stressing is that you must be centered in the Christ consciousness, come from a frequency of love, no fear. We want to have everybody in the same frequency, same energy, same vibrational patterns. And that's really quite important. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing at that day. And we'll see here who we might have. I know there's somebody wanting to come on, but I'm not sure. Well, they disappeared. But hey, Karen, good to see you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Trisha North, welcome. John Hogan, welcome to the show. Les N, Nino, Marie, Zook. Everyone, good to have you with us here. Good to have you on the show. So I need to, again, I'm going to take a look. Oakdale Curtis. Let me see what Oakdale Curtis would like to share with us. And again, if I bring you on the show, these are the rules of my interviews. I love interviewing people all over the world. You must be over 18. No smoking, no drinking of any sort, no foul language, and finally, no paranormal discussion. Those are the four main ingredients of our program here. And I'm also host of WESU's Cosmic Eye Radio every Sunday morning, internationally on NPR Pacific Radio. So we're glad to have you with us. We're going to take a chance here and hope that this person is, we'll be quick. We'll be very quick with the finger here if it is not what we think it should be. So we'll find out in a minute.
Don't relax your finger, Leon. I'm a good guy. I'm not going to violate it.
I know you're a good guy. I kind of figured, we don't have too many.
I'm definitely 18.
There you go. I know you're over 18. Welcome to the show. And whereabouts are you?
67 years.
There you go. And where part of the country are you at?
I'm in California. I hope you don't hold that against me.
No, we have nothing against Californians or people in Sweden or anything.
What time zone are you in?
We're up here in the East Coast here with the Ash Trucker Man show. We do our encounter show every Saturday, every night. But we got a little bit late tonight coming on. We're usually on at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Getting close to midnight then.
Yeah, we'll be on till 1 o'clock tonight, a.m. Eastern.
Awesome.
So welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what things have happened in the subject matter.
Well, what intrigued me is I hear about real quick because I went by the rooms. I've been on TikTok about a year. My grandkids got me on here. Blessing and a curse. Wild West. But I noticed you mentioned Christ conscious, and I thought that was interesting because I am a Christian, devout. As a matter of fact, let me share this with you just as shits and giggles. My brother, I'm not selling anything, Leon, don't worry. My brother sent me this, and I've been getting a lot of comments about it. It's my T-shirt. But anyway, as a Christian, though, I'm also a scientist, top degrees from a big university in biology and genetics long ago. And over my lifetime, Leon, there probably isn't a field of science that I haven't delved into fairly significantly to educate myself across the board. In my day, they would have called me a Renaissance man, fairly well educated across the board. But I also happen to be somewhat fairly well informed about the UAP phenomena, things that I'm pretty well, people have shared things with me in my life that have the wherewithal to know. And what's uncommon is when I keep those two areas separate, my knowledge of the UFO phenomena from my Christian brethren when I go into apologist room, because very often they quickly want to assign demonology and other things, spiritualism. And personally, I don't believe, I don't want to say I know that to not be the case because I want to parse my words carefully. But let me say it this way, I have a very high confidence level that we're dealing with very real biological entities. They're not demons. Uh, I can often have a hard time reconciling the two because UFOs aren't, well, even in scripture, there's mentions of the watchers and beings that we can't explain. So I can't say, I'm not a theologian, Leon, but anyway, I
Yeah.
don't find any contradiction. And I'm curious how you take this based on your bio and stuff, what I'm about to say. I find no contradiction as a Christian, devoutly connected
Hmm.
to my Savior, from the concept that just
Right.
because he created us on this earth and wrote scripture for us on this earth does not, in my mind, mean that that excludes that he could have created other sentient beings in other systems. The
Right.
scripture simply doesn't speak to it. So I
Right.
think to just assume that's not the case, I think it's an error. And my knowledge of what I've been shared with by people in a position to know tell me there are sentient beings on other solar systems. So anyway, let me be quiet for a minute. That was a lot to digest, Leon. I assume you're a Christian.
Right. So put it this way: I was born in the Earth-based Jewish religion. What you want to
Okay.
call Jewish? All right. I went through. I didn't come from Earth, but I came here, and I did study other things on purpose. So I jumped into the born again Christian religion thing for a while to study it. I was able to speak in tongues, and what I came back with was that the people that were speaking in tongues don't understand. It's not a religious experience. It has to do with a intergalactic language that has nothing to do with religion. And that's what I came away back.
Never heard
I
that
jumped.
take.
What?
Never heard that take, Leon. I've been around a long
Yeah,
time. That's an
yeah.
interesting,
So
fascinating take.
yeah. So when I was speaking in tongues, it felt like I was speaking in Chinese, and I said, "Oh, this is where I feel like I'm speaking in Chinese." I didn't have an epiphany of it being a religious experience. For me, I came away with an intergalactic language that people in religion, they could take it as a religious experience. I took it as a completely opposite thing because when I came here from another world. I came here within that Christ consciousness. So when I talk about Christ consciousness, it's interesting because I look as Christ being a Christed being of light. Whereas a 3D religious person might say, well, my perception of Christ is that Christ was this and he was this person that was put on a cross. That's the religious version. But from my version of Christ, is that Christ came here as a starseed, meaning we all came here from another world as starseeds. If we are very loving people and we believe in Christ, and we also understand the whole thing of people from other planets and that star people exist and that we know that we're not alone in the universe and we come here to do good things for people on Earth. And we could, the way I take it from my perception of reality is that we as starseed who are good people are here and we have Christ consciousness, we work in a different level than somebody who's a 3D person that's out going around, blowing up nuclear bombs on the planet to destroy things, and they have no consciousness about what they're doing. And they did that in historical aspects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There's all kinds of ways we can perceive the negative energies of people, the way they do things on Earth. Where I come from, there's none of that. I came from Mars originally. I remember everything about the planet. I can tell people things about the inner part of the planet. I can tell them but I forgot things because I was a regular kid. I was going to school like all of us, right? Went to college, got my degree. I did all these things, but I also had these experiences where I had a spaceship land when I told this story, and you probably have not heard this, but I'll share it. When I was a kid, before I was a teenager, I was in my house in Long Island in a suburban neighborhood at night downstairs with my parents after dinner. My brother and my mother and father were downstairs. And all of a sudden, I had this urge to go upstairs on the second floor of the house. Went to my brother's room, opened up the window shade, a wood shade, and I'm looking at a station. Crap, I never forgot the experience. I know in detail everything. And they were space men and women and children wearing a light blue space outfit. They were the adults were taller than the child was, but they had a center of energy in their ship that was like blinking like crazy, like an energy system or something. And there was like this like radiant light around the craft, outside the craft. And I was looking at it and I saw these people and I'm like, I was hypnotized by it. I was looking at them and they told me telepathically, you're not from here, you're not from Earth. And so I went downstairs excited because I'm, still preteen, I'm a kid. I'm seeing this happen to me. I go to my parents and my brother and I tell them what's going on. I'm excited. They don't come up. They're going to come up together. Never came close. I was so upset. I was banging on the carpet. I remember what I did that night as a kid. Then I got up from being upset, going back, opened the thing. The ship is still there. And they still communicated this beautiful energy of love. They were sending me this energy of love that was undeniable. They were just beautiful, beautiful, peaceful people. And they said to me, you didn't come from here. You're from beyond Earth. So after I had that experience, I started seeing for many years growing up in the 60s a lot of what I call spaceships. I didn't even call them UFOs. I knew they were not like a UFO to me. It was an unidentified flying object. I saw squadrons of ships high in the sky on a clear night over Long Island when I was a kid. I wouldn't talk about it. I saw, always saw things. I saw bell-shaped craft once in Port Jefferson, Long Island. I was at school and I was playing baseball. It was cloudy and I see this silver object going below the clouds going east. I remember every single thing I've ever experienced. And it's like a computerized memory, and I remember everything. So I had a sighting in Naugatuck, Connecticut on the East Coast back in the 80s. They called it the Hudson Valley UFO sightings. I was coming out of a club. I was a DJ playing like albums of music. It was a night and I was setting things up. Then a voice tells me in my head, look up. And in plain English, I hear this voice, look up. I go out the door. It's a little shopping center with a chain supermarket on one side with lights on a pole, a couple of lights, and then a McDonald's across the street, condo complex above, and then all woods, strictly woods, like hilly woods area. I see a ship 2 football fields in length, spinning around slowly, multiple lights, and then it shoots out 2 lights out of the craft. One red, like a red and one like an orangey red, the other one kind of yellow, and they were doing geometry above me in the sky. They started putting all these lines. The lines didn't disappear. They were showing me something. Until this day, I still don't understand what they were trying to tell me, but they showed me this. I was sitting there in this car in the parking lot for 35 minutes, and then that was at the beginning of cell phones. I called up the local ABC affiliate, and they told me it was a bunch of airline people. People that have planes that were in like they were in formation. And I said to the lady, stop reading the script. I'm sitting here looking at this thing across from a McDonald's in a parking lot, sparsely, filled parking lot in this Naugatuck Valley area. I told her where I was. I said, this thing I was watching for 35 minutes. She didn't know what to tell me after that because I said, I'm right here looking at it. And she was just reading a piece of paper she was told to read, but I was right there. Then I went to a UFO conference at a condo complex. At that point, sometime later, somebody there involved in ufology invited people. People came from Pine Bush, New York, all over the place came to this thing. I was on a panel discussion. I said to people, how many people saw this object? I told the story. We had a MUFON person on the panel, and we had a critical person, and we had a few other people. And when I told people to raise their hands, all these people raised their hands, and they're all from that region. And so I knew there was more than 20 people that had seen the same object, and I was right on top of it in a sense. I was the closest one to it. I mean, I was like, if I was like to touch it, it was that low. It was maybe 1,000 feet above the condo complex, and then it finally slowly headed towards the northwest to the woods. So I remember every single detail of everything that I was seeing. So to give you my background about Christ, the Christed beings of light, and the Christ, the being that I deal with, they are Christed beings of light. We are, in a sense, Christed beings of light. We're just in a human body suit. I call it the human body suit, but in truth, we all came from the stars. You came to the stars. I came from the stars. A lot of my people in the audience have learned a lot on this show about the Christ consciousness, which is really important because it's different than people going, to a religious institution and learning about Christ. When we realize that we're all connected to the Christ consciousness, Jesus was a Christ. I'm a Christ, you're a Christ. So the first name would be Jesus. Jesus is a Christed being. You know, you don't even be a Christed being. You know, might be a Christed being. When you operate in that frequency, you're operating in a complete understanding of unconditional love, which is what Jesus was operating on. And learning that aspect of love, our space family operates in unconditional love. They're here to help our planet. They prevented nuclear weapons from being blown up in the 60s. They shut down nuclear silos in the 60s. I grew up in the Cold War, and I remember all the stories and and I've actually seen video documentaries on this, where people that were formerly in these silos came forward and said, "Oh yeah, one night our base was the lights went out, the electricity went out, our nuclear missiles went out. They were shut down by the SAR people, by the space people, because they want us not to destroy our planet."
Leon,
You know, so
take a breath. Take a breath, brother.
no, there you go.
I want a dialogue with you. And you're like,
Yeah, just want
you
to
can
share
be a
some
talker.
background
You
based
can
on
be
your
a
question.
talker. I'm teasing you. Please don't take offense.
I know you are. I know you are.
I've got a question on a tangent real quick. Why do you people on the East Coast take the R off of car and say ka, and then you put it on the end of words that shouldn't have an R? I don't get it. Why
Yeah, I
you
don't
move the
know.
R's around? Just leave them
Yeah,
where they're at.
you
It's
know,
car and saw.
it's like park the car in Harvard Yard. You know, like being in New England. I've been in New England half of my life, so I picked up a lot of being in Vermont, Maine. You know, it's kind of funny. I pick up the accent, and sometimes I pick up accents from other places too. So it's kind of weird that way. It's kind of funny.
All right. Well, I'd like to converse with you for just a couple of minutes. I can't stay long. My problem, not yours. I'd like to move away from theology at all and focus on the UAP phenomena and just
Yeah.
dialogue with you a little bit on that. What do you think of the TikTok videos when the Air Force a couple of years ago, they could have ignored them in the public domain, but after about a year of those TikTok videos from the FLIR cameras, the Air Force came out and announced that those were real videos from our jets, and they even produced the pilots for interview. They didn't have to do that. The videos were out. They could have just denied and said, nah, those are good fakes. But they didn't. They took the time to acknowledge them, produce the pilots, and we have these beautiful FLIR videos that you know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
on the craft sideways flying around in front of the jet.
Yeah.
It's
No,
often called the Tic Tac
I
video.
totally. A great question. I've looked at all those videos, even the ones
What's
that
your
were on
take
the.
on those?
I
Ours
think
or
that I don't think
somebody
they're
else's?
ours, but I think that there's better footage out there than the Air Force even has. I think that there are people here who, of course, have better pictures, close-ups of what they call spaceships. I've seen much
Right, but
better
these
stuff
were moving and they were from a
moving
reputable
and not
source.
on a radar. People with their own phones videotaping in places like New Mexico, all over the world. I have people in the Allegheny, not the
No,
Allegheny,
but
the
stay with me, Leon, on the Tic Tac videos with the Air Force.
TikTok
Two
videos.
two things I want you
I
to
think,
address for me. One is,
yeah,
do you think those were ours and they're fooling with our own jets? And secondly, what do you speculate the Air Force would come out and announce that those were our jet videos and in addition produce the pilots? What do you
I
think's going
think
on
that
there?
I think that to, they want to be transparent a little bit. I'm using the
Why?
word "little bit" because they know that the people are tired of all the lies, the 70 years of cover up. I mean, they
Never
have a
seen it
UFO
bother them up
site.
till now.
Well, the government has a UFO site. You've been on the UFO site. The government has. The Pentagon has a public site. I don't take too much to it. I look at that site for more of those things, and I just feel like they're trying to placate the public just to keep people quiet. So they figure if they come up with this and show us some videos and black and white stuff on their Air Force jet videos that they've taped, that we're gonna say, "Oh wow, that's disclosure. We've had disclosure, folks. Now go back to sleep." You know what I
Do
mean?
you think
It's like
do you think that particular craft on its edge with the white shroud around it, or
that's to answer your question. No,
I agree.
I don't think. I don't think it's
Those are
ours at
not
all.
ours.
Nope. And
Nope,
that's
they're
got the
not.
best videos in the world, but that's not ours. That's definitely not our
They're not.
stuff. Nope.
Do you think
And I
we're
think
flying? craft with anti-gravity technology.
Well, we have reverse engineered technology that I totally know of,
But do
but
you think we're
that's
flying
something.
craft currently?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Do you think we're flying currently
Oh,
weekly, daily, monthly craft in
we
our
have
atmosphere that are
we have
RRs with
trained. Yeah,
anti-gravity
we have trained Air
technology?
Force. I agree. We have trained Air Force people, Area 51, S4. Let's see, Wright Patterson Air Force Base. We have
Segway.
reverse engineering technology that will shut down use skeleton technology to do some of these spacecraft.
Yes,
And
we
by
did.
doing so, we've taken the technology to secret locations, and
Yes, we
scientists
have.
have reverse engineered them. So we have both. We have reverse engineered, and then we have what you call the stuff that is not ours, that's also flying in our atmosphere.
But do you think we've taken
Absolutely.
that step with that reverse technology to build craft that we currently fly in our airspace?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know what they
absolutely.
are?
Yes. That's, well, I don't know what they are. I think that they're reverse engineered spaceships. Some of them are triangular looking. People will say, I see a triangular type UFO. Some of that stuff is ours and stuff not ours. So that if you don't know a lot about the subject, you're not going to know how to
Oh, I
distinguish what's
do.
ours. You know?
I'm going to share something with you now. You're actually spot on. I will confirm that for you. I'm just a guy on TikTok. Don't have to believe anything I say. Anybody listening, uh, I'm old. I've been connected to a lot of people in my life. What I'm telling you right now came from people very high up at, I'll say, Pentagon level of high ups.
Okay.
Okay, I don't really be on if people believe me or not. That's not my goal to come
Right.
here and convince anybody. I'm just going to tell you what people have shared with me that we're in a position to know. I'll leave it at that. We are
Okay.
currently flying that technology. We have for about the last 20 years, and we are doing it on the TR-3B platform, the black triangles. Those are
Right.
ours. They're military. We have many of them. We often will fly them. I've seen photos of them decks, one on top of another 30, 50 feet apart. And what they're doing there is trying to understand the effect of the envelope created around them by the anti-gravity engines. It produces, if you've listened to Bob Lazar, the guy couldn't lie if his life depended on it. He is absolutely right. What we're doing is creating an inertial field around the craft. And when you look at those Tic Tac videos on the FLIR radar, even the craft, they're using that same technology. And if you look closely, you can pull it up online, you will see a white halo around the craft. Now, you know better than I do, but for people listening, you've got 160 here, Leon. White is cold on infrared technology. And that would be the opposite of what we would expect to see from any conventional propulsion system. Should create dark, our jets, our plumes, anything. But the reason it's cold is because the space around that craft has been inertially isolated from our Earth's inertia. And essentially, they're falling into a gravity well.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about that is that you can see it on the field, you can see it on the pictures. If you look at those craft, and our TR-3Bs are operating the exact same way. They're creating, and sometimes people wonder why these craft, Leon, can make these sudden, unbelievable movements, right? Any
Mm-hmm.
biologist and physicist, and I'm very well science trained, would tell you the G forces, if it were in our inertia field, would turn anything biological in craft doing 800 Gs into liquid on the side of the inside of the craft instantly. Couldn't stand that kind of G-force. However, when you isolate a craft with that field, Leon,
Mm-hmm.
everything that's inside the field is inertially isolated. So when those craft make those movements, the beings inside are sitting there as quiet and stable as you and I are right now talking. There is no
Right.
external inertia from our Earth affecting them inside. It's hard for us to understand that because in our physical world, we have no comparator for that. But the only way I describe it to people, Leon, I'll give you a real brief analogy, or anybody listening, is 100 years ago, if I took somebody that raced horses, by the way, did you see the Kentucky Derby today?
A little
A
bit.
horse can run 30, maybe 35 miles an hour. And if you had a good rider that could ride that fast, he would know that he's getting wind in his face and bugs hitting
Hmm.
his face, right?
Hmm.
He couldn't talk to a rider next to him, too much noise. If I told that rider that 100 years in the future, I'm going to put you in a seat in a
Yeah.
wagon, a sophisticated wagon, and I'm going to make you go down the road in that wagon at any time the speed of your horse, and you're going to talk to the guy next to you quietly and listen to music. He'd look at you like you're bananas. But if I put you in a Bugatti Veyron and close the door, it's not a perfect analogy, but I can hit that thing at 250 mph, quiet and calm, because the windshield and the doors and the hood and the material have isolated me from the external effects that all the horseman knows in his life is you have to experience those effects. No, you don't. And that's what
Yeah.
it's not a perfect analogy. These craft are not just a bubble. They're
Right.
actually shielding out the effects of our Earth's gravity and inertia. It's a close analogy where inside they don't feel any of the things that we would normally think you should feel doing this kind
Right.
of nonsense in the sky. So let me take a
And we
breath. Your
and
turn.
we've also learned to, and thank you for sharing that analogy too. We've also simply learned to also in cloaking, not cloaking, but simply doing the reverse engineering, we've learned how to cloak these craft.
Yes, they do. They bend the light around them.
Hmm. Someone
It,
just
it,
said that they bend space and time.
however, I have an opinion. I don't know this from my contact. I have a feeling, a sense. I'm a real logical, deductive type guy.
Uh-huh.
The fact that they fly in that motion using that field, and they're not always cloaked. See, there's
Right.
the catch. Tells me that they probably have to do more power, something
Mhm.
additional that they
Yeah.
don't want to do all the time, or else they'd always be cloaked, would be my inference.
And it
And
could
they're
be.
not.
And the cloaking thing is something they've developed when they shot down some of these craft with Skylar technology.
You know, it's funny you said that. We have since Roswell to
Oh yeah,
hit
we've had it a
those
long time.
energy directed rays that
I know a lot.
interfere with that inertial field around them. You would think,
Yeah.
you know, I hear this concept that, well, if they've flown across galaxies, wouldn't they be immune? No, they're still subject to the laws of physics, and that field is subject to
Right.
being disrupted. They're not immune. These are not military UFO craft,
Right.
they're exploratory craft. So we can affect them existentially and take them down if we choose to. My understanding is we came to an agreement with them around the time of Eisenhower that through meetings at with Eisenhower, would not shoot them down, and in return they wouldn't do certain things on
And
their end to us. I'm
let me
not
jump
privy to
on that.
that deal, but I'm
Let me let me jump on that a little bit because I'm privy to exactly what happened. So with Eisenhower, when he made an agreement, he met with two different groups. The ones that he said he would not shoot down were called Zeta Reticuli. They were from the Zeta
okay.
Reticuli system. What they
I've
wanted
heard
to
that.
do is some of them wanted to study the human,
Yep.
physical body, because the
Yep.
Zeta from their star system were losing. They were once human like we were. They lost that aspect of their human form. They became so advanced that they shut that out of their whole beingness. They became different. They had a underground in their planet, which became this ability to have like growing fruits, vegetables, having the things that are needed to have a normal physical body. So their bodies transformed into what they look like with the big eye things and all that.
Yep.
They made an agreement, and Eisenhower made this agreement with them. He had a choice to make an agreement with the star people. These are the Christed beings of light, what I call the Astral Command, which I work with. I've been working with the Astral Command. When I was an adult, I knew I did. But when I was a kid, I didn't know I did. But the Astral Command gave them, Eisenhower, a proposal. The proposal, which is something I know because I know the people that were involved in it, was that if they worked with the Astral Command this juncture in 2024, even way before that, our planet would not have pollution. We wouldn't have our lives the way they are. There would be no wars. There'd be no people killing each other. We were going to be given all the things necessary to live a healthy, beautiful life. But we chose, Eisenhower agreed with that, that was the way to go, but he was actually more interested in the influence by his leaders that talked to him, said, we have to go with the other group because they'll give us the technology we need to have reverse engineered spaceships or craft or UFOs. And that's why he did that. He had the choice. He knew in his heart it was right to go with the Ashtar, the Christed beings that were here to help advance us into a spiritual, loving planet, but he chose to go the other way because he was pressured to do that, and that was not the decision in his life. Because a lot of people had been being abducted, were being we call abductees, were abducted, and the Zeta, the ones that he made an agreement with, they wanted to take our DNA to try to bring back some
Right.
of what they lost in their
What I've
DNA.
heard.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, let me ask you a question. You and I both know this is kept in black box off books. They've actually moved much of the technology to like Bigelow Industries and other industries that are
Right,
not a government, so they're not subject to FOIA. And they do a tremendous job. Matter of fact, anybody that thinks they tell all our civilian leaders up to the president what's going on is wrong. They don't. They keep them in the dark. But what strikes me as interesting is we're still even Tesla still flying rockets using old ancient flame
right.
technology, and yet we have this other technology which suggests to me, I make inferences, Leon, that they've done a
Yes,
tremendously good job of sealing off what we know at these bases in terms of that technology from the rest of the civilian world, even
right,
at the highest levels of technological development,
right.
SpaceX, et cetera. How do they keep that barrier in? And at what point do they say, wait a minute, let's stop shooting rockets up with flames coming out the back and let's just do it more efficiently with this technology?
Right.
But they were not there yet.
Right. Let me just also rephrase my name. So it's Aleon, like Aleon,
Okay,
Aleon.
thank you.
Just
Forgive
so
me
you know,
for
you
getting
probably didn't
misspelled.
get that. That's all right. In terms of the whole thing, which is kind of a farce, the whole thing with NASA and people saying, oh, this type of technology, they send these pencil-shaped spaceships to go off planet, and then they go to the space station. So now there's a majority of the public on Earth, and I'll say this very clearly, that this is a this is a cover-up program. So when they send a spaceship and people say, wow, we're going to go to Mars, and we're going to, they're not going to be able to go to Mars because the Martian people won't let them land on Mars. And the thing is, they say, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. The thing is, they have technology, reverse engineered technology that can only go so far, and it still has limitations because they don't have the ability to do what interdimensional, intergalactic spaceships can do. The ones that come from really out there that can zip through wormholes in like a nanosecond, come to Earth and be here in this dimension in 2 seconds. The spaceships, the Zeta, are limited to this universe. They can't go to a higher frequency because they have put themselves in a situation that they boxed themselves out of the ability to get their vibration up higher, which they have to do in order to be where the higher frequencies are, where the other space people are. They can't do it. So with NASA, and I use them in the space agencies like Russia, whatever, they're using on the front end, they show people the pencil-shaped spaceships, right? Russia sends them up. China has their missiles. Elon Musk does his test things. But in truth, the fact is we have the ability to do a limited amount of traveling within our own solar system and galaxy and our universe. We cannot take this aircraft beyond this particular vibrational pattern. Now, if people understand what I'm talking about, you can ask me a question, but I know this to be true. So they use the front end saying, okay, now we're going to have a really spectacular liftoff at Cape Canaveral coming up Sunday morning. Everyone's got to watch it. It's going to be the best pencil-shaped spaceship with new technology and everything. But the fact is, they're lying to the public because they have reversed engineer technology as advanced as it is from shooting down spaceships. It can only be limited to this particular universe, and
Well,
they'll never tell the uneducated public will never know this, but I do know this to be true.
I'm assuming you're very familiar with, he's passed away, the Canadian Defense Minister, Paul Hellyer.
He, watched his when he was alive, and he told the truth.
I absolutely agree. I read people very well. He would have no reason with his position and power. That's what happens when people get old. They just decide they're they
Right.
limit their requirements and confidential. They just give it up and say, "Here's what's going on." But he clearly tells us, and this is logical, that if one biological system in space could reach us, even if it took tremendous technology, it's probably not the only one. Your intuition would tell you there are multiple. Hellier says there's, as I recall, I'm trying to recall, is 20 or 30 in that range that come and go from our atmosphere. Not all at the same time, not all at the same frequency, but they're different. But I'm curious about one of them. Well, it may be multiple, but it's my opinion that the little grays, know for sure whether those are just biological entities created by their progenitor species. In other words, if we didn't want to travel as humans intergalactically, we may at that time have the ability to create a biological entity, but it's not a human. It doesn't have a
Right.
soul. It's essentially a biological robot. And
Mhm.
I suspect that the little grays are in that class.
Yeah. So there's really no such thing as a gray. There's zeta reticuli. See, a lot of people they'll use the word gray, but there is no gray. There's a zeta reticuli from zeta reticuli system. Now, some of those EBEs could be, like they could be directed and used by other types of beings that are not like that. I think there is a percentage of the EBEs that are definitely not robots, but they're entities that are
Right. They're not
like
robots like that. They
yeah,
have the ability to make
they
choices.
serve a purpose. They serve a
Right.
purpose. But I think there's also other things like other Zeta that are not like that. They're actually Zeta that were once human that, like I said, over eons of time lost humanity. They actually messed up their planets on the surface. And that's from a lot of things, including possibly nuclear radiation and all these things that they weren't able to have the substance of food that they needed to grow the vegetables, the fruits, the things to have lush green forests. They did away with that because they got too advanced and they didn't realize you have to have a balance. You can't
Right.
have all this advanced stuff and not have a planet where there's mountains and trees and birds and bees. You have to have a planet that is integrated, that it includes everything that God created. And when they did what they did, they messed it up. And so in the Zeta Reticuli system, there might be some Zetas that are trying to get back to that, but they basically messed up their whole things. And the
Right.
EBEs, I think some of them are actually controlled by other types of beings.
Let me ask you this: if you've heard this lore, I've read this in numerous places, and the research suggests that the beginning part of it is true. You often never know if the back end is true. But Gene Roddenberry, who was the original creator of the Star Trek, the original Captain
Right,
Kirk, those are so cool.
right.
I love those still. But it was established, this wasn't really open to debate. He was friends with another of the Majestic 12 group in
Mm-hmm,
1948 to about 454. You know what the
mm-hmm.
Majestic 12 was designed to
Yes,
do.
MJ12, I'm very familiar with that. Yes.
Yes, you and I both are. And it was known that Roddenberry was very good friends with a number of these people. And it's believed that what happened was they told Roddenberry some of the most uh, top side things they had learned from their encounters with these EBs. For example, that there is a prime directive. There is an intergalactic, when you've got 30, 40 species coming and going out, that they have a directive that they're not supposed to mess with a planet's political. Doesn't mean they can't come in and do your cattle and take you as an individual and
Right,
probe you, but it means they don't land on the lawn and say, "Here we are, we're going to take over Earth." That there is an intergalactic federation. Those ideas that Roddenberry incorporated into Star Trek did not come from his mind. He simply
right.
took what they were telling him and moved it over and created a series on that. And I know some people will hear me saying this thinking that I've lost it, but it's pretty well established that he had these connections, and it's not a great leap. And now you listen to Hellier, he confirms that there is a galactic federation. You hear the same thing from Hellier that Roddenberry was doing in the 70s on Star Trek.
Right. And with Hellier and Roddenberry wasn't just talking about the lower vibrational, zetas. He was talking, his concept of Star Trek showed many different beings, including human, that were
Mhm.
intelligent, communicating from different planets. So he got it right that way. Hellier got it right in the sense that he's divulging the fact before he died that there was definitely galactic groupings of space people. What he was
Yes.
talking about was more that there were space people, like I talk about Ashtar Command. He was talking about the intergalactic groupings, the councils, the different beings that were here for the positive reasons. And I read into his speech, and that's what I got from him when I was examining what he was saying.
Yeah.
I think that John Roddenberry was ahead of his time. His whole series was based on experiences that he knew privately, and
Mhm.
he turned it into this Hollywood series called Star Trek, which had many variations over time. You've seen Star Trek grow from its original thing to where it went in the future, more the theme of intergalactic communications with different planets.
Right.
And so he was right on the money in that aspect.
Now, one of the things when Hellier speaks, you can listen to his tapes that caught my attention, um, Arleon, Alien, excuse me, is that even after telling us everything that he was telling us about multiple species visiting our planet, all of the information he gave, he made a comment that said, "There's still some things I cannot tell you." Now, that struck me as odd because at that point, he's reaching the end of his life. He's already spilled the beans on everything there. They're not going to do
Right.
anything to him. And I asked myself, what is it he's not willing to tell us? And I'm actually now, yes, here's what I'm thinking it is. That when we made those kind of agreements with these species, that they're, and he makes the comment, this is a lead to it. He says, they're not
Mm-hmm.
all here as our friends. They have all different agendas. He makes that point. Some are here to help us, some are actually working with us on our bases. I know you know that. And some of them are not our friends. And these are the ones that are taking people up. And you hear the stories
Right.
about him being probed and eggs taken, and examined. And it's a
Right.
frightful situation for them. And my guess is, it's an educated guess, is that when we made that agreement, we could not rule out the ability of these foreign alien of studying us. And I think Hellier knows we can't stop it. We can't do anything about it. That if they want to come down and pick up a few of us to study us and do stuff to us, they're going to do it.
Right.
And there's nothing we can do about it. Our technology isn't going to be in the
And
right place at the right time to
let me
stop
say
this.
this. Let me say this. That whole thing with the abductions has stopped. The program was actually stopped, and I'll tell you why. Who stopped it? The Ashtar Command people that I work with. They actually stopped the abductions from occurring. Not only that, our planet is not in the same frequency right now.
Mm.
When the abductions were happening in the 60s, 70s, 80s, some 90s, a little bit, maybe early 2000s at most. The planet's now vibrating 30 years later in a much higher vibrational pattern. That also is a big deal because the fact that our planet is vibrating at such a high vibration, the beings that the Zeta that were abducting people that had permission to do this, to get the reverse technology that Eisenhower talked about, which they wanted, the Zeta cannot go to that other vibrational pattern because they are limited by where they are. So it's like when you put yourself in a box, and this is an analogy, you put yourself in a box and you can't get out of the box because you put yourself, taped it up, and you're now stuck in a situation that you put yourself into because of what you did to your planetary systems and the Zeta systems. You cannot get yourself to go where everyone else is going. So in the universe, all these other planets are going, or solar systems are going into what I call a much higher vibrational pattern. Not just Earth. 30 years later, it's not just Earth, but it's the whole universe. There are many, many civilizations that are now amping up into a much higher vibration. And as you go into that higher vibration, you are now not going to see people being abducted because the ones that were doing the abduction cannot reach the vibration that we're in right now on Earth. So if you look at Earth humans, you just say, if you took a poll of people that would say, have they been abducted in 2024? If any I would say probably 95% of everybody I would talk to would say, I've not been abducted. Now, if I said, 20 years ago, have you been abducted? You might find people that said, yes, I've been abducted. But now in 2024, there's no one that should be being abducted. And if they are, it's very, very limited for any being to be able to get to this. So what you're seeing is many of these beings that were abducted, not just Zeta, but other types of beings that were in that vibration, they're being taken off the planet. They're being sought out by the Ashtar Command, which is the people I work with that are human, very beautiful people of love. They also work in Christ consciousness. They have ships that are rounding up all these different beings that are trying to hide on Earth, and there are different types of them, and they're taking them on a one-way course off our planet. They're going
Can I
out
report my
and away.
neighbor?
What?
Can I report my neighbor?
Your neighbor?
Put him on the list.
They
Take
put him
him.
on the list?
No, kidding. That was a joke. Aleon,
I
before I
kind of
go,
got that. It took me a second, though.
I'd like to conclude our discussion about what's next, and let me lay a footprint real quick for you. I'll be showing when I try to think how long ago something, I think of the time and then I double it. But I'll say 2 years ago, before the Chinese balloon, there were 3 Tic Tac crafts in a row, literally within a month or two of each other, and we took them all down,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Why we would do that? Why I don't quite get that, but we did take them down. They crashed. We have them. We recovered them immediately. And my word I got back from people at the top of the food chain was there was a huge discussion after they took them down because it was such common knowledge. We knew we had them of whether or not to go clean with this, bring the craft out, or the other side said, nope, let's suppress this, do what we've always done. And the suppression side, as you notice, after that happened, not even the press brought up articles, statements to the president. What happened to these? Where are they? They suppressed it. That shows you the power. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but they have tremendous power at the top to the degree of threatening lives, making people aware that if they want to do this, they're done professionally, if not physically, and they suppress that. And I'm asking you going forward, where do you see us going 1 year, 3 years, 5 years in terms of releasing ever this information where it just reaches a point where it's undeniable, or they just continue to suppress it? What's your sense?
Oh, man, you asked me a loaded question there. I'm going to give you an answer.
You don't think I was going to make this easy for you after as much as we've chatted?
Right. I'm going to blow everybody's mind up. Now, I can tell this with confidence. About 2022, the end of 2022, I was getting information. I get downloads of information from my contact off planet. I don't channel anything. I don't have pendulums or crystal balls or anything.
Can I get on that feed?
What?
Can I get on that feed?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. I'm a good guy. I'm pretty knowledgeable.
I'm gonna answer your question very, very clearly.
Sorry.
Everybody here is going to know this. I've known that there's going to be contact coming, and the disclosure is not going to come from the Pentagon or Ministry of Defense in England or China or anybody or Russia or anybody. It's going to come from above. When I say above, I'm going to be very clear about this. That in 2027 was a timeline for contact. That timeline has now been advanced to, and it was going down to 2026. That timeline is now in 2024. You're looking at probably the end of 2025 to 2026, relatively towards a year and a half. There should be disclosure happening, but it's not going to be from, if anything happens with any government in the world about disclosure, they're going to be forced to do it only because the space people are coming in large numbers of ships around our planet. And those people in those high places that are saying we can't tell the people anything, they're going to be hiding in a closet somewhere probably in a bathroom or something, because they're right now, they don't know what to do. The fact is, the Pentagon doesn't know what to do because they know this is going to be happening. People are having contacts individually all over the world that are having contact with the star people. I call star people humans like us. They're taller. The men and women are taller, maybe 7, 8 feet tall. They're slender, and they come here in peace. So the disclosure is not going to be happening where we think it's going to happen. The fact is, part of what my show is about is I've always told people, don't look for disclosure from the Pentagon or England or anywhere else. Look up at the skies at night. Center yourself, meditate, focus. You want disclosure? It's going to come from beyond Earth. It's not going to come from any government agency. They have information, but I'll tell you, with people that I've interviewed over the year and a half I've been on TikTok, I've had people talk about beings visiting them, light beings coming into their house. They've had communications with these beings. Disclosure, you're not going to get it from the Pentagon. All you have to do is watch this show and some of the people I interview. This is where the disclosure is going to happen. It's not going to happen in any public setting with any government agency. Don't trust any government agency. They're all there. There's fighting going on, though, within the Pentagon between the younger generation who wants to let people know the truth and the old generals that haven't died yet that are saying we need to keep a lid on this. They're not going to be able to do it. It's just that their time is up. Essentially, what I'm saying, their time is up. People understand. The space people have had it with our government agencies not telling us the truth for over 70 years. We're going to be having disclosure not from the Pentagon, but from our star family. And that, again, I say within the next year and a half, you're going to see a lot of activity happening up now between now and 2026.
Well, I hope it's one of the friendly groups.
These are all friendly. Although unfriendly ones are
Well,
being
Hellier
taken off
said
the
they're
planet.
not. They're not all friendly.
No, the ones that are coming are friendly. What I'm
Okay.
trying to say is, based on your question, the non-friendly ones are in a limited vibrational pattern. They're not going to be able to do anything. They're totally out of the picture now. Now, the unfriendly ones were involved heavily in the last 30 years, but that has stopped. They're being taken off planet. Any unfriendly ones that are still on the planet, they're not going to be allowed to be here to do anything. They're going to be just taken right off the planet. I
What'd you
guarantee
think of that thing in Vegas? The videos were awful, but they all were playing.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Miami. I
Was that
didn't really
Miami? Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really,
The videos were
I didn't really
awful,
talk about.
but I do remember seeing like 100 police cars outside the mall.
Yeah,
Right away, that told me something wasn't right. This
you're right.
wasn't a
But
normal
I never
event.
really focused too much on that. There were other people on TikTok talking about it. I was more focused on more important things, which was about when contact was going to happen with the real space people. There was too many things with that. I kind of talked about it maybe one night. Other people were talking about it for days. To me, it wasn't the most important thing in the world. There's much more important.
Something happened there that wasn't normal.
Yeah, but I'm thinking what I try to tell people is you can get fixated on that, or you can go and
Yeah,
look
Vegas
past
was the
that.
backyard guy.
There's so many things to look at from a galactic standpoint beyond the Miami situation that are way more important. The people that I talk to on my show here who have information, who have documented their things, I find that more interesting than focusing on something in a mall that there's just too many variations, you
Yeah,
know?
but something wasn't right. You don't bring out 100 squad cars for just
No,
some
something wasn't
homeless
right,
guy.
but
Something
again, I didn't stay too fixated on
that's
it. I think there's too many
very
other
sad.
things that are more important than that specific story.
All right, Leon, you've been great. I can't think of the last time I've talked to anybody on TikTok that was informed that you are on the subject. And I don't
Well,
say
thank
that to
you.
patronize you. It's just, a lot of people just don't know a lot about the subject. And so it's really entertaining for me. I'm certainly no expert, but as you've heard, I am privy to some things that
No, I
I've heard on
appreciate
my
that.
lifetime that I'm very confident of what these people were telling me. And, you know, it
Yeah,
gives
no,
me
I
some
appreciate
insight.
that. You've been a great guest. I appreciate you coming on here, and I hope you'll be a regular on the show to watch it. And if you ever get any
Will do.
top secret information, we're always happy to have that information too as well.
Well, I have sources. I'll say that. So we'll leave it at
That's
that.
good enough. We don't have to divulge sources. You get
Well,
the
I
information is
don't
more
want the men in
important.
black coming to my front door.
No, nothing to worry about, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on here, Oakdale.
All right. God bless. Thank you, everybody.
You too. All right. That was pretty interesting. All right. What did I just do here? Okay, here we go. Now let's see here. And that was very interesting. Curtis, thank you very much for being on the show. This is Encounters. I'm telling you, folks, this show, we never know who's going to be coming on here, and that's why we have the show the way it is. Let me see here. I'm going to bring Ashley up. We know who Ashley is. We're going to bring Ashley up here. Thank you, Gamma, for the roses. We appreciate your gifts. Thank you, Marlene. All the gifts are welcome here, so please. Oh, okay. Ashley, you there?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
How are you, Ashley? Good to see you.
Good. I just got home from work. I just wanted to hop on just because I gotta go inside and be quiet because everybody's sleeping. But I just wanted to add to the Miami thing that
Yeah,
everybody was always talking about why are there so many cop cars. But that was
right.
because people heard the firecrackers and people took them as um pew pew shots, so they probably took
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
as a
That's
mass.
what I heard too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why so many cop cars. So I just
And I
wanted to,
never stayed actually focused on that too much because there were
yeah,
too many people going nuts over that.
yeah. I just wanted to let people know that because people, I always hear people talking about that. So that I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that because I figured that's why.
And we'll never really get to the point of the truth of that. There's all kinds of different stories. But to me, there's so many more important things than what happened in the Miami Mall that time that I focus on, which is everyone here. I mean, the people like my friends in Half Pint up in the Allegheny Mountains. What's it called? The Appalachian Mountains. I'm sorry. Why am I saying Allegheny? And I've got pictures. As a matter of fact, I have a picture that they sent me that I've got of another spaceship that I'm going to show here. This is from the Anunnakis. This is the Anunnaki spaceship. I wish the Half Pint was on here, and I'd bring them, Ray, and I'd bring them on here. But yeah, there's so many more things that are going on that I can show you that are tangible things that we can see. And I think that's more important than getting backtracked onto the Miami thing. I understand it. I did like a show on it, like one little show bit about it. I didn't really stay too focused at that time because there was 10,000 people with videos and everything about it. And I said, I don't want to get too focused on that. It's just
Yeah,
way bigger galactic pictures of things that are happening that we should really be talking about.
yeah.
User 338 wants to be a guest. It depends how many viewers you have. I
I
mean, how many followers. Oh, he
I
does
would
have
be
followers. Yeah.
I would be curious though. I think that somebody should FOIA the calls that day to 911 and see what
Yeah.
people report seeing, you know. But that's
Yeah.
all I have on that. I think
Yeah.
that that user is the lady that was up there the other night, Joy, that she said she would go by Joy or Julie or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can go ahead and bring her up.
Yeah.
I gotta get my stuff around from work and head inside the house, so you can drop me if you want. I'll still be here though, listening.
Sounds good. Okay, Ashley, we're going to bring her up in a minute. We'll be right back, folks. Stay tuned for our next guest. And welcome back to Encounters. I'm your host, CmdrAleon. And user 338, we're going to bring them on right now. So we'll have our next guest, user 338. We'll get a first name, user 338. You're our next guest on the show here on Encounters. And of course, sometimes my screen goes dark when I bring
Yes,
on a guest. I don't
good
know why.
evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, I was on here the other day. My name is Julie from New York, and you said you
Yes,
wanted
Julie.
me to speak with April.
Oh, okay. You want to say hello to April? Let me.
No, you said you wanted me to speak to April.
Yes, yes. Oh, I think April is not on right now. Is she? I don't see her in here. She was on before. April, are you still with us? My screen went dark. Let me see if I can bring the light up here. She might have went to sleep.
Okay, what's it?
April's. I don't think April's here.
Okay, so you usually start at 11.
Yeah. Well, we started at 11:30 tonight, so we started a little bit later than usual. So yeah,
Okay,
we
so
start a
what time do
little
you
bit later
start
on our program.
tomorrow?
Tomorrow we'll be on at 11 p.m. So we'll be starting at 11 tomorrow evening.
Okay,
And if
so
she's on, I'll have you. You can share some of your information
what? How often
with
does
her.
she come on?
Normally, she's usually here. I mean, she doesn't come always on live, but she is here watching the
Yes,
show.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, we have Friday nights where Ash Turkman quick Q&A sessions Friday nights, and then the rest of the nights at 11 o'clock we usually do a show. And April is always, when she wants to come on, she can just request it and we'll put her on here. So yeah,
Okay,
all right,
okay, all
all right there,
right.
Julie.
So
Well, good to see you again.
yeah, I got more stories if you want them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hear one or two more of your stories.
Oh
Julie
my
was on with
God.
us a few nights ago, folks.
Yes, I was. I was telling my stories. One time, I don't know if I said this one, but one time my dad, he was sneezing and sneezing and sneezing, and then when he was sneezing and blowing his nose, little blood was coming out, and then a plastic thing came out of his nose.
Oh yeah, you told that story the other night about the what might be an implant or a device.
I think so.
Yeah, no, you did. You tell that story.
There
I
was a
remember it.
there was a story with me, but I can't remember exactly. I think there was like something on. I'm trying to remember, like the the arm or something.
Yeah. No, I remember the thing about the implant in his nose.
Yes, there was.
That I do remember.
Yes, but there was something with me on the arm.
Oh, like something imprinted on your arm? Is that what you're talking
I
about?
found something. I had a cut, and then I found something like inside.
Let's see. What did you find inside? Like an implant?
I don't know. It was like so tiny, and it was like a circle.
Was it like metallic, or can you explain what it was? Metallic, maybe?
Like,
Are you still there?
yeah, I'm still here trying to think, because a lot of these memories, I suppressed them all.
Mm-hmm.
I suppressed them all out of being afraid, being like, feeling a certain way about them all.
Mm-hmm.
I suppressed them due to trauma, actually, that these
Mm-hmm.
things didn't have happened to me. I just want a normal life. This is not the only weird things that happen to me, but throughout my life, a lot of weird things have happened, not just in this topic, but other topics, and all I wanted was a normal life. So a lot of these things have gotten suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
This is only like the third time ever talking about it, and the first two is just
The only,
two
the only thing I
personal
can tell
friends.
you is The only thing I can tell you is, Julie, is that as you watch my show, sometimes you'll see me talking about meditation, Christ consciousness, and that, in effect, if you practice meditating in Christ consciousness and say, I'm a Christed being of light, and you actually practice not just the words of what that powerful meaning means, but you do that and you say, I will not allow anything in my life to be interacting with me unless it's a Christed consciousness level. You will actually see that you will not have those you will not have those problems anymore. If what's ever going on, depending what it is, that's the first step in doing away with the whatever it is. And we're strictly UFO oriented here on the show. But again, what I would recommend is try allowing yourself to relax. Use higher frequency music. You can find it on YouTube, like Christ Conscious Music. And by doing so, you meditate and say, I'm a Christed being of light, and keep repeating that to yourself and saying, there's nothing out there that can interfere with my life anymore. I wish to have nothing but positive interactions and experiences in my life. And once you do that to yourself, and once you allow yourself to be in that situation, it will transform and change the vibrational patterns of things that are affecting you in your life, in your home, whatever. It will change everything. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, hold on, I'm writing this down. I'm a constant conscious being of light. There's nothing that interfere in my life.
Right. And as long as you tell yourself you are a Christed being of light, which you are, but you have to believe it. You have to breathe it. You have to live it. Once you do that to yourself, you will not have any more of those things happening to
Well,
you.
I didn't have those things happen to me for a long time. It's just the trauma of the fact that they did.
Right. So now to get rid of the trauma, which I understand you've had, to reverse the trauma mentally in your mental
Well, that's why I
consciousness
suppressed
is
all
to
the. That's what. Go on.
that's where you have to look at what it was and say to myself, okay, this is tagging along with me all these days of my life. Now I wish to not have this happen anymore. Now I wish to live in a very positive life where there's nothing, no history, no baggage, all that baggage you had of trauma. You can cut the cord off on that and let it go and say, okay, trauma, I went through this. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to live through this anymore. I wish to just live in a beautiful state of consciousness where I don't have that problem anymore. And so by doing this kind of focus on Christed light, it will transform the frequency of energy in your body, eventually allowing yourself to be clear and not having that. You can just like cut off the baggage. And that's what it is now. It's memories. It's memories of all these things that happened to you. Once you let go of those memories, like cutting off the cord, those memories will just float away, and you'll now have a clear consciousness to have new memories that will be positive, new experiences that will be positive. If you, again, do this, I think you'll see a big difference.
Well, I didn't.
And
I didn't have trauma
I'm
until
bringing
I
on
started
Friends with
talking.
Fairies. I'm going to bring on Friends with Fairies. And I know that she can also help you through this too, because I think that
Well, I didn't have it. I
whatever.
didn't have. Well, after. Well, after it happened, I had the trauma, but then I suppressed it, and then I did it. And the other day, I started talking about it again, and the trauma was coming back, and that's why I didn't come on the next day
Mhm.
to speak to April, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it again. And then it wasn't
Yeah.
going away, and I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And then I'm like, yeah, I'd like some answers.
I
Hmm.
just came on, so can you give me a little bit about what's happening?
Yeah. So she's had a lot of trauma in her life. She was on our show, April, a few nights
I
ago,
remember.
um, in Brooklyn, New York.
Yep.
So I was trying to tell her about
Oh, you're April.
how to
Nice.
say hello, April, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Oh, hi, April. Hi, April.
Hi. So I didn't hear everything. I was in the middle of letting my dogs out. What's going on?
No, he wanted us to
So
just
Julie, you
talk.
want to give her a little bit about? Go ahead.
He just wanted us to talk about the subject. He said you can have some answers on the things that happened to me.
Okay. So do you wanna just kind of recap on stuff for me?
What happened to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean the stories? We tell them?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Oh wait, never mind, never mind. You don't have to recap on it. I'm sorry, it just came back. It just came back to
I
me.
don't mind recapping
Yeah.
them. I don't mind
She,
So
retelling them.
I had some actual thoughts about what happened with you.
Which story?
The part with the reptilians and the babies,
Yes.
and the other incident that happened to you with the other people, and that you being taken to that house.
Oh, you mean like
Yeah,
some type of examination room? Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the house afterwards. Well, they
yeah.
didn't take me to the. Well, yeah.
I had some thoughts about that, and I kind of like really put some thought into this, and
Thank
I'm
you.
what I am seeing, and this is
How old are you, April?
I am 52.
Oh, okay. I'm 36. All right. Go on, April. Thank you.
So in my visions that because I really thought about everything that you had talked about, and really went into what you had experienced. And it's one of my gifts. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse sometimes, but I have when I go into these gifts, this gift, it shows me your experience through your eyes. Um, but when I went into it, and I know that you don't remember everything. I know you remember most of it, but not everything. Um,
I do
I
remember
also
everything.
what I'm getting from that is I'm getting at some point that they used that other person to get your DNA, and I think that what happened was the reason why
No,
you
but
were.
that's two separate stories.
Yes, yes, I'm aware.
I don't think they used that person to get my DNA.
I'm not sure if they used that person or some other time that they did take your DNA, but I'm like very sure at some point they took your DNA.
yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with
no,
that.
they did take my DNA,
And so
but
what I have
not
gotten.
by that not by that incident.
Okay, so what I have gotten, okay, and like I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, okay. So what I have gotten
Well, I
from
guess to
this
get
is,
the answers, I'm gonna have to be fully honest here. They got
yeah,
my DNA by the normal way.
okay.
They get your DNA. How did they get your DNA?
The normal way.
Well, if you were abducted, well, I know a lot about how this happens. And if they get your DNA, they do it through doing things that are not what the extraterrestrial intelligences that are high in the light would do. They take some of your DNA through your biological form, and that's how they get it. I won't go really into very specific ways, but yes.
That's not how they got it.
You want to explain how they got your DNA?
The normal way.
When you say the normal way, you're talking about. So, what is the normal way? Can you explain that? We'll be very careful with wordage here, but if you're saying through a relationship with another being, would that be the normal way?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep it in all these different wordage. So let's say there was a relationship with one of these space people, these Zetas, and the Zeta connected with you. They were still able to do those things in a relationship way. That's how they got your DNA by doing that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to turn it back over to variables. So now I'm trying to keep the words different so we don't get into trouble here.
Okay, so this is what I've gotten. So the ones that look like they were tall blondes that took you to that house to show you those baby reptilians and asked you to hold them. I what I have gotten from that is that at some point they did take your DNA, and they were trying to do some type of hybrid baby between the reptilians and the humans. And what I got is that the tall blondes had actually rescued these reptilian babies, and they were trying to find the mother. And because you have been tagged, and I'm sorry, but you've been tagged. That's why they can find you anywhere with a tag that they have placed inside of you.
Mhm.
That they were able to find you. The good beings of light were able to find you. They rescued these babies because they are part human. They were trying to find you as their mother to see if you actually were their mother, and they would know by them handing the baby over to you and you holding them. Okay, and so if the baby reacted badly towards you, that would meant you weren't their mother. But the fact that the baby did not act badly towards you meant you were their mother, and they needed to know whether the baby, rather the, I'm sorry, I cannot talk tonight.
The baby.
If the baby did have if the babies did have human DNA in them, which they do. So they needed to know what they needed to do with these babies, whether
What
they
are they
needed
do?
to
What are they doing
they're
with them?
going to try to bring them and raise them in the light, so they are not raised low vibrational. They've been because they've been experimenting with these different human beings, trying to make hybrids, and they're trying to put the good beings of light are putting a stop to it. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, there are babies that have been born, that are half human and half reptilian or whatever other being that they're trying to crossbreed them with. And what they're doing is they are rescuing these babies, raising these babies in high vibrational light, so they do not turn out negative.
How do
So
they? How did?
they're going to bring them into the good vibrational being fold, basically.
Do you understand that, Julie?
I do, but how do they get a hold of these?
How do they get a
Yeah.
hold of what? The
They,
babies?
Yeah.
They
how
rescue
do
them.
yeah. So what you're
No,
saying is
not
they
them.
rescued them
How do they? How do they?
from
How do
where they
they
were.
take them? How
How
how do
did they
they
take
take them
them?
from people?
They
Yeah.
have there are as we speak we have the Ashtar Command has trackers that are tracking low vibrational beings that are still here on the planet, ones that are still creating havoc and doing stuff like what they did to you, and they're putting a stop to them. They are sending them home, or they're let's just say they are taking care of it. They are getting these negative vibration, low vibrational beings off of the planet, and in the midst of them doing that, they're finding things like these babies that have been born, and so what they're doing is they're taking the babies, and because it's not the baby's fault. It's not these babies' fault that this is
Right.
No,
happening.
I'm
So
saying
they're
no.
helping the babies, and they're getting rid of these lower vibrational beings that are doing all this nonsense.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm
and also, Julie,
I'm
not only they what were you saying, Julie?
no. How do they take these? How do they take them from the mothers?
Can you talk a
They
little?
don't
Could you talk a little bit
essentially
more
need
into
you.
your phone?
Sure. How
They don't need you. They don't need you. They didn't take them from you. They took your
they
DNA.
did? No, no,
So
no,
what they did is they took your
no,
DNA and then they mixed it with
no. That's
another.
not. No, no.
They
Mm-mm.
didn't take your DNA.
No,
I thought you said they did take your DNA.
no. This all happened the regular way.
So you're saying
Right,
that
but in the regular way, it still includes DNA. When you have interaction between two people, there's a DNA interaction which would happen, which gave birth to these reptilians that had human DNA in them. They can only have it because
Yes,
if it
but
was reptilian to reptilian, it would be strictly reptilian. You see what
yes,
I'm
but
saying?
yes, but they. Yes, but they. Yes, but they took them from me.
so
Right, they did take them from you. You're absolutely correct. But they have your DNA in their bodies because of that relationship. You're right. They took them away, and then the beings that we're talking about that have them now, The reptilians don't have them.
No.
Right. Exactly right. The reason why they
The,
don't have them is because they were taken
Wait a
by
minute.
others that were
Wait a
not
minute. I think
reptilian.
he's trying to say something else. What are you saying, Julie? Are you saying that you gave birth to these babies?
no.
What are you saying then?
The other part of that.
I'm not.
The other part.
You have to be a little more clear, but be mindful that you are on TikTok so we don't
Yeah,
get
we're on
banned.
TikTok. Yeah.
Hold on. Headphones fell out. The jack fell out. I'm saying, I'm trying to say that, not that, but what happens before that.
Okay, so before that, this is where I'm a little bit confused. Can you go back into what happened before that for April and myself and for the audience of people watching this? What happened before that happened?
April, you there?
I'm here. I'm right here.
What
I'm here with
happened?
you.
What happens to people before what the word that you just said?
That you gave birth to them?
No, before that, what happens to people? People gotta be.
You were tagged?
No, people, women have to be.
Pregnant.
Pregnant?
Yeah.
So
So
you,
you were pregnant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were pregnant, then they took the pregnant. They take the eggs of your pregnancy from the interaction from you? Is that what you're talking about?
Um.
Well, you did they? Let me put it this way: did they force you into a situation when this happened? The embryo. We'll just say
Um.
embryo.
Yeah.
They took the embryo, correct?
I would say it was bigger than that.
Okay, so they took the baby that was within you.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That's right there. So the baby was taken that was within you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to turn back it over to April.
okay? So what what I'm saying is that okay? And I know this is probably very hard for you because you feel like this is part of you, and I can already feel that from you. Okay, which is why you're struggling so much. Correct?
Mm.
Am I correct? Is this why you're struggling so much right now?
Just the whole situation.
I'm so sorry for
Mhm,
It's
just
mhm.
okay.
before I go any further, I just want to
No,
say
you can.
I am
You're
so
fine.
sorry that this situation has happened to you. It should not happen to anybody.
Mm.
Okay?
Okay.
I just want to start by saying that. And then the second thing I do want to say to you is that your babies right now are in very good hands. They're with the best loving beings that they could possibly be placed with. They are not in our government's hands. They are with the Ashtar Command right now, and they are being raised in good, loving place. Just know that.
Okay.
All right?
And we can, and our family on the ships, April and my family, when she goes back on the ship, she can mention to them about what's going on with this, and I'm sure they'll have knowledge of this to help you. And what April's sharing.
I'm already in knowledge of some of this stuff,
Oh,
Commander, and
good.
I was waiting to talk with her again. I knew I was going to.
Oh, good.
So I've already been because I just went a couple of days ago, and I've already been in talks with them about this whole situation because it has been a situation for a while, but the situation is going to be part of another group's mission to deal with. And I know you don't know anything about that, but me and the commander do. But let's just say this, okay? The babies, you will be given the opportunity to be reunited with your babies
How?
when after contact happens
Hmm.
in
What?
about a year and a half, and the babies will also be big enough to know who you are, and Ashtar Command is going to make sure they know who you are.
But I already went up there.
I'm just saying that when after big contact
Right.
happens,
What's
you will
big
be given the opportunity.
contact?
In a year and a half, all the good space beings of light will be coming down and making their presence known, and the whole world is going to change as we know it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So after that happens,
Is that why they're prepping us? Is that why they're prepping us for the existence of aliens with those news stories on TV that said
don't listen
alien
to anything.
sightings?
Don't listen to anything that's on TV. If you want
Yeah.
to know the
Forget the
truth, you
TV.
want to hear the truth, come right to this show right here. If you want to
Yeah,
hear the
forget the
truth, because
TV.
you're
Forget
not
the
going to
TV
get the truth
shows.
from TV.
No,
They're
I
going
didn't
to tell
say
you what
that.
they
I didn't
want to
say
tell
TV's
you.
telling the truth, but government must know that. So government is trying to like make us like there's stories on the news
Yeah, they're
recently
trying
that
to scare us.
was like alien sightings, alien sightings. No, they weren't trying to scare us. They were just like, there's been an alien sighting here. There's been a spaceship sighting there. UFO sighting. That's what they said. UFO
Well,
sighting.
well, there are documentaries on History Channel, on Discovery.
No, not
Uh,
that. I meant like on the actual news. There's been stories saying UFO
oh, there have been
sighting
stories,
here,
of
UFO
course.
sighting
You'll
there.
hear
That's the
stories.
purpose for the fact that they're going to be known, to be shown, so that we're not like
But
freaking out.
But your specific, yes. So beyond the TV news having stories from different parts of the world, and they do stories about UFO sightings. What we're talking about is what April and I are talking about is actual star people that are human like us. They're very spiritual, very loving people from other planets that are going to be within a year and a half. There's going to be way more stuff happening around our around our planet that has been happening right now. Individually, people are having contact all over the world, people that we don't even know. Right now, somebody can be having contact with a space person from planet XYZ as we're talking about things with you. So there are people now starting to have their own individual contact. There's going to be within a year and a half, and it's really rapidly increasing. There's going to be more people coming forward in their own lives that they're having personal contacts with space people.
But what do you think was the purpose of my other story, April?
And which one is that? You have to be a little more clear for me so I know
The
which one you're
one
talking.
where, the one where, the one where they took me to the examination room with the other guy.
They might have if it was the good space being, so that one I didn't hear the whole story on, but if it was the
No,
examination,
I'll retell it. It was, okay, it was taken, I was taken to the spaceship, and it was a circular spaceship, and they took me to Arizona, and then, I was placed in this examination room with this guy, and they,
Julie, can you talk a little bit louder? You're almost whispering.
sorry, it's my house, sorry. Yeah, no, okay, they took me in a circular spaceship. Then I went to Arizona. Then they put me and this person in an examination room, in an exam room, like like a doctor's office room, and they forced us to have sex.
now that would be the grays because you are
It
tagged
was
like
a
I said.
guy.
Yeah, that would be the grays. That was because you are tagged, and they are, like I said, they have been creating havoc on our planet. They have been experimenting on humans for I can't even tell you how long, and it's not good, which is why, as we speak, the Ashtar Command has guys, are people out there that have been rounding these guys up, finding them and getting them off our planet. And these guys that are doing all these experiments, they're not going to be here for long. You don't, please trust and believe they are not going to be here for long.
Oh, she disappeared.
Okay, well,
That's weird. She disappeared. I don't know if she's, what's going on, but, you know, if she's still there watching, I'm hoping she didn't just have to go off.
right.
She was whispering. I don't know if there were other people in the house she's in or what's going on, but,
I don't know. But
yeah.
it just saddens me that these beings have been here doing this nonsense to, good people for a very long time. And I am so happy that the command is on top of this now. They have been
Yeah.
here, they are rounding these guys up, which, and taking them to these holding facilities and getting them off the planet, so
Yeah.
they can't do this to human beings anymore. The ones that are still trying to be sneaky and doing this stuff aren't going
Yeah.
to be able to do it for much longer. All these people that are tagged are going to be untagged when all this,
Yeah.
when they come down here. They're going to find all these people and get them, get all these tags and nonsense out of them.
Mm. I think the people are saying that we know. Rita says, I think she is totally traumatized. I think that's right. Carol Susie Q says, and I agree with Carol too. She didn't want anyone in her house to hear her. I don't think she's living in a house by herself.
No.
I think there are other people there
Yeah,
that live there. So,
and the way she's
and for
talking,
all
it
our
sounds like she's
relatives, she was
very
violated
traumatized.
and exploited,
Yeah, and
and she
yeah,
was,
and
you know.
and that's a rough.
But
That's a rough. That is being speaking as a woman. That is a rough thing to go through. It's bad enough that happens. With human beings, but that it happens with something like that, and then people don't believe you. Because
mhm,
then you're labeled as not. Not being all there. Who do you tell? Who do you tell?
right. And
You can only come
Maggie
into
Moon,
rooms like this and hope somebody may understand what you're going through. My
yeah,
heart
and
goes out to
Maggie
her.
Moon says, April, that so, Commander, why now are the beings saying it's enough? Well, when when the beings say it's enough, it's the star people, our Ashtar Command, which we work with, are saying it's enough, meaning that they they basically have had it with these beings abducting people over the last number of years, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's done that. They're basically not going to be allowed to do it anymore. And as we talked before, is that they're being taken off the planet and having a one-way ticket out. The reason why they're saying it's enough is because it has to stop, and it is being stopped. So stories like Julie's story is important because I think she is traumatized and overwhelmed, and I think she feels safe here. I think she's coming back on. Actually, let me see here. Yeah, she's come back on. I think that's the same person, maybe. We'll find out.
Sorry, my
Oh,
phone
user,
died.
welcome back, Julie.
My phone died.
Oh, your phone died.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Well,
it's
that
plugged in
happens.
now, so we're all good. It's not gonna die again.
Okay, good.
Yeah, okay.
So Julie's back with us. Okay, her
Okay,
phone had
yeah,
died.
so what I was saying was, what do you think the purpose of that was?
I
You
think
know,
the purpose of
you,
that was is that these beings are, they have no feeling for human beings at all, and that they don't care that they've hurt you or traumatized you in any way, and that they are trying to do as many experiments on humans as they can. And whatever they were doing to you in that room, I can't say why they were doing that, but I can tell you that it wasn't right what they did to you.
Right.
And Julie, I just also want to say, if you ever need to talk, you can always reach out to me.
thank you.
That's an open offer.
I appreciate that,
And I
but
did follow you, so and
I'll
I
follow
will
you
send
back.
you.
I
Okay,
do
you
appreciate
can
that.
talk to me anytime. I can't even imagine what you have gone through, and I am so sorry that you had to go through this. It is
Me
not
too.
Yeah,
Me
okay.
too.
thank you. Thank you, but
You're
also,
very welcome.
yeah, but also, do these people study people's emotions?
They try to, and the commander can tell you about that, because they have lost their humanity. So
No,
they
the
are trying.
girls I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. They used to have human emotions. So the commander can explain it better than me. Commander, you
Yeah.
want to take that one?
So, in terms of human emotions, the beings that abducted you many moons ago were human like we were. They became so advanced with their technology, they outdid their emotional experiences. Their bodies, they went living underground on their planets. They had nuclear radiation problems on the surface of their worlds. And therefore, when they went underground, they decided to transform their physical bodies to the point where they had the big eyes, and they're from the Zeta Reticuli system. So they outhumaned themselves, meaning they outhumaned their emotions. And when they were doing the abductions with people, what they would do is, in any way they could possibly do it, they would take the DNA from a human being, and so it's really ramping up agents here. They would take the DNA from the human to integrate it with their own species to try to bring back the emotional and human aspects to themselves. Yeah, they became sterile. That's absolutely correct.
Yes, but in the
Say
first,
again?
yes, but in the first encounter,
Can you
yes,
can
but
you talk
in the
more?
first,
Can you talk more into your phone?
yes,
Can you
yes, but
talk
in
more
the
into the
first
phone?
story, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
Can you? Yeah, yeah, but in the first encounter, they didn't take anything.
that's okay. But they did take something eventually, correct?
Yeah, but I'm saying not in the first encounter. In the first,
Right.
no, I'm saying in the first encounter when me and the other person,
Right.
that time they didn't take anything. So what was the
Right.
point of that?
The point of that was to whatever, I don't know what the point of that was, but the most important point
Was
is
it to study
that
human emotions?
they probably were studying your emotional interactions. And because they had lost theirs when they did what they did to their own planetary societies, they
Because
were studying.
he had like a notebook.
Interesting. So they probably were looking
He
at
had a
your human
notebook.
emotions.
He had a,
So
they
temperature,
watched it and he had a notebook.
right, because they were probably taking notes in terms of how human beings interact with each other, to be very safe in my wording here, which they did. Then once they saw that, the reason why then you had the embryo situation, that was after this thing happened, right?
No, that was
Was that before, or was that before this happened?
after, but the incidents are not connected.
Okay, so you have these different incidences, but the one with the embryo was the same beings that were there, the embryo they took, and therefore
No,
these two, that's a separate incident.
yes, that
Okay,
was that was the reptilian incident.
okay, now I understand. The
The
reptilian, yeah,
first
those separate.
incident was a gray incident.
All right, so the reptilians were separate incident, and the Zeta were a separate incident. So
What's a
the Zeta
zeta?
didn't do any. The
That's the
Zeta didn't
Greys.
take anything
What's
from
a
you, but the
zeta?
reptilians.
The Zeta is the Greys.
Zeta are what you call the Greys,
Okay, no, they didn't take anything.
but the reptilians did.
Yeah, they did. Well,
Okay, so let's focus on the ones that took the
yeah,
reptilians that took something from you. Okay,
I mean, the same thing in the first incident happened in the second incident.
But
so
here,
just staying focused on reptilians, not to get too confused here.
It's okay.
They're the ones who took the embryo from you, Julie. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, that should have never been done. That's against universal law to begin with. The babies that were born were taken by the tall being that you said was like a human. Correct?
No,
Can you explain then who took the babies?
don't know.
You don't know.
I just know that the tall being sent me to another planet and I saw them.
that's
Right.
after
So
they
well,
were lost.
obviously,
Yeah.
if tall beings take you to another planet, they weren't the reptilians, correct?
No,
That's what I'm trying to say. So the tall beings took you to another planet where the babies were.
correct.
Were there any reptilians on that planet besides the babies?
I think so.
You think so? Are you absolutely sure about that?
Maybe 80% sure.
80% sure. So can you tell us about the tall beings that took you there? Who were they?
I don't know. They had blonde hair and fair skin, and they were tall. like maybe like 6 feet tall,
Mhm.
maybe something
Can
like
I kind
that.
of jump in on that one? Now,
Go ahead.
now we're gonna just say that in the Ashtar Command there are some reptilians that have turned back to the light and have been working with the Ashtar Command. There are a small percentage of good ones that are out there that are integrated into the Ashtar Command, which are the ones that are off planet, probably the ones that are helping with the mixed breeded babies like hers. So they are helping with that, with raising those babies because they are part reptilian and part human, but they are after contact happens going to be giving the humans the choice whether they want to be reunited with their children. I know
Do
that's
you
a, I
understand
know
that,
it's a little
Julie?
But,
bit
but
confusing. Go
yes,
ahead.
but in the first
The first
thing
ones weren't good ones, but the second, the ones on the planet that actually had your babies, those
yes,
ones,
but
those
I'm
ones are
saying
the good ones.
but I'm saying in the incident with the Greys, how
hmm
come a few years later I met the person?
I don't know why you met the person.
I did
That I
meet the
have
person
no
a few
idea.
years later.
I
That
haven't been
I
able to
have
figure that
no
one
I
out
never
idea.
met
That
in
myself.
the
may have just been
incident,
a
but
coincidence.
I did meet the person.
That probably was just a coincidence, and that person probably had no memory of it because they are notorious for wiping people's memories.
How come I have a memory of it?
I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
I can't tell you
Some
either. I
people
mean,
do
I know a lot of
remember, some
things.
people don't.
And
There's
You
no
know,
rhyme,
for
no
whatever
reason
reason,
to it.
the Zeta allowed you to have the memory for some reason. For whatever reason, they didn't, say, okay, we're going to have to make her forget the experience. No one knows why you have the memory. You know, you do.
I have the memory of all of these incidents.
Yeah, you obviously do.
And in the second incident, I have a memory feeling like I was drugged.
Hmm.
Okay, can you repeat that a little bit and talk more into your phone?
In the second incident, I feel like before it happened, I started to feel like I was losing somewhat of like my my natural state of my natural state of consciousness, and I was going into like an in between state, like like when someone drugs you,
Yeah.
like kind of like that,
Hmm.
and
It
then
sounds like you were.
the incident took place.
Hmm. And when the incident took place, you were on a spaceship, correct?
No, it wasn't. No, when
No,
the
she
Where
incident
were
took
you?
place, I was in my room in my bed.
You were in your room,
In my bed.
right? And this is when the Zeta, the gray beings, were there, right?
No, this was the incident with the reptilians.
The reptilians. So
It was
the
one
incident in your bed.
reptilian and one gray.
So there's one
The gray
reptilian
stood
and
in the
one Zeta.
corner with something like a gun, but it wasn't a gun. He said it was a silencer.
This was which one, the reptilian or
The
the Zeta?
gray. The gray.
Okay. So
And
they were both in the same room. Let me explain something. You're telling us they were both in the same room with you?
yes.
Well, obviously they were working together with each other because the only reason they'd be in the same room if they had knowledge of each other's beingness to be there.
Well, the gray made the reptilian do it.
The Zeta made the reptilian do it.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds about right because
At the end, the reptilian kept apologizing.
which sounds about right because
So,
the grays are completely or the reptilians are completely grossed out by the grays, which
I was
sounds
be-
about right.
I was begging him not to do it, and he did it anyway.
Yeah, he probably didn't
mhm.
have a choice.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I've never heard that story before. I appreciate you sharing that. I've never heard that before.
They were like, because I was in that state, I couldn't do anything about it.
Well, yeah, you were in a position where you wouldn't have been able to. When I
That's
knew
why they
people
put.
like that.
That's why I was put into that state, that trance-like state, that state like that, woozy kind of state.
Mhm. And what do you remember? What year this was when this
And then
occurred?
they were very heavy, like you couldn't like push them or anything.
Hmm.
Do you remember what year this was that this happened?
Yeah, the first incident was 2010. The second incident,
2010.
the second incident was 2011.
Okay, a year within each other. Interesting.
Wait, second incident, yeah, would have
Hmm.
been somewhere in 2011. Yeah,
Hmm.
but the incident where I saw the people getting beamed up into the spaceship behind the Toys R Us, and it was behind the strip mall, was 2002. No, 2001.
2000. You were saying 2001. Can you go back to that?
Sure. We were going in the mall. There's a strip mall by my house, and it has like a Kohl's, Models. Well, it used to have Models, a Kids R Us, a Toys R Us, a pizzeria, an eyeglass store, an arcade. It's just a strip mall, right? And then there's a big parking lot, right? And it and there was a round spaceship behind it. Behind there's like a bay. It's like a bay, like on the, like there's a strip mall. Then there's the bay. Then there's behind it where like the trucks go to unload to the stores, and
Go ahead.
they were beamed up people. I saw people getting beamed up in a distance because you can see it like behind it from like because like it's off a highway, so you're on the highway and then you go into the parking lot, and we were on the highway and then we were going into the parking lot, and that's when I saw it, and my friend saw it too, and then we were both telling our parents about it. Look, and then it disappeared very quickly. But her parent, well, not quickly, maybe 3, 4 minutes, and her parents thought it was ridiculous. And, the parents just made her believe that it wasn't true.
I know when we first had John, you talked about the spaceship you saw in the distance, people being
Hello?
beamed up and abducted.
Yeah, they got beamed up into like purple light, and it was a round spaceship, one black eye, and one girl,
It's just,
and the
Yeah.
other guy.
I think some people that they have a really hard time wiping their memories. Some people they just can't do it. Some people remember everything. So I've heard this. From abductees before, saying that they remember everything. They just, for some reason, their memory wiping doesn't work on certain people. What the
Well,
reasoning is behind that, I'm not sure. But some
well,
Hmm.
people remember.
in the first incident, they didn't wipe the memory.
In the first incident, they didn't wipe the memory. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And you were saying that you remembered everything, that every incident that happened to you,
Yeah,
correct?
but in the first instance, they didn't wipe the memory.
Yeah.
They said they said they didn't. They weren't gonna. They said they weren't gonna do that. Well, they didn't.
So they didn't wipe the memory. So
In the first
with all
incident,
this experience,
That
I don't think they
um,
did.
that to me is just
well,
wrong.
obviously they didn't because you remember everything that happened
Right,
to
and they
you,
probably wanted her
including.
to watch her to see how she was going to react to the trauma of what they did to her, because they don't understand. They want to re-understand human emotion again, so they put her through some trauma and then wanted to watch her reaction from it.
I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but no, it was because the guy was begging them not to wipe the memories. Afterwards, he was begging them not to do it.
So they wiped his memory, correct?
No, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't wipe his memory. So he
I
has
don't
memory
know if
too.
he
All right.
remembers it,
So,
but I mean, I don't know if he believes it or remembers it, but they
mhm.
didn't. He was begging them not to.
All right. So if he didn't lose his memory, you didn't lose your memory. Just let our audience know this is Encounters, and this is really the late night
No, we
talk
didn't
show.
lose our memories, no.
No memory loss. Okay.
He begged them not
You
to, and for some reason, they didn't do it.
you
Right.
have a very, in some ways, complicated situation in your story from 2010 and 2011. So folks, just so you know, 2010, 2011, two different situations. And then also you mentioned that Zeta and the reptilian were in your bedroom, and that part of it.
That's the
So there's a lot,
incident. Yeah,
a lot,
that's the incident from 2011.
right, the 2011 incident. So obviously they were working together on some level, but you haven't had any interactions at all since then, right? Am I wrong?
No, no, no
Mm-hmm.
interactions since
Yeah.
since that came out of
River
my
Blue.
dad's nose and that came out of my arm.
How old were you back then in 2011, 2010, 2011?
22, 23.
You were 22, 23 years old. Because somebody was asking that on my comment section here. So she was 22 to 23 years old when this happened at the
So,
time.
yeah, so wait. 22.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then the other person was was 15.
Wait a minute. You were 21, you were 22, 23. The other person was 15 years old.
Yes.
I won't go too deeply into that. I'll just leave it at that. That was interesting. And I'm not sure you'll know this or anyone will, why they chose somebody of a way different age group than yourself.
Probably because I cannot talk tonight. Probably because of the age difference. Because males are a lot stronger, potent at that age.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's the reason. I
What do you
think,
think the reason is, Julie?
well, I met the person years later in 2015. I think because we're twin flames.
You think you're twin flame?
Yeah.
That's
And I
interesting.
think that they had some knowledge of that.
It gets, and your story is so complicated in some ways because there's so many different levels to it. And so does this other person, do you just still contact or know this other person?
No,
You don't.
no.
So they didn't allow you to reconnect with each other.
No, we met in 2015.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
No, not due to
you met.
them. No, not due to them. We just met in real life.
Hmm. What do you think, April?
We just met in real life. We were actually working together and we met in real life and we were friends for about a year and a half.
And he has no memory of anything.
I don't know, I didn't ask him about it.
You know what? Why don't you ask him about it and find out what he
We
what he
don't speak
says?
anymore.
You don't speak anymore.
No, it's that whole twin flame dynamic
Hmm.
with the runners and the chasers and yeah, we just don't speak anymore.
I mean, a lot of that one I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
You think maybe they did it because we were twin flames?
I don't think so. They don't have any sense
No.
of that kind of stuff because they don't even have any sense of human emotions at this point. They've lost all that sense.
And if you are a twin flame, and for all our relatives says, since you're a twin flame, do you want to be with this person?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be with their twin flame?
Hmm. Very interesting story. And I want audience to know there's no judgment here. We're listening to the story. I'm here to help.
No, I
And
know.
so is April. We're here to help you.
I
And
know.
there's a lot of complications here. I mean, the story is clear in some ways. But again, I think the bottom line is to get into the Christ consciousness, since you're not having the experiences anymore, which is in a sense good.
But what they didn't understand was why people do things that aren't for procreation.
Yeah, well, you're saying the beings didn't understand why people have procreation, correct?
No, they didn't understand why the Greys didn't understand why people do, like, certain things, in that nature that aren't for procreation.
Right. I understand what you're saying. So they didn't understand. If I understand what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that they didn't understand the procreation of how we procreated. I'm totally not sure I'm getting this.
No,
No,
when two people are trying to procreate, they do
Right.
certain acts that have nothing to
Right. I
do
understand that.
with procreation.
Right. That's right.
That's what they didn't understand.
Okay. That's because they lost their
They didn't
ability to.
understand why it was going on so long, why everything wasn't just, like, oh, you can't do that, that has nothing to do with procreation.
Right.
because they lost all sense of humanity, emotions, and feelings. They know nothing of that anymore. They are trying to
Yeah, they lost.
they are trying to get that back, which is why they choose people like you and like him to experiment on, basically, to watch your guys' reactions, to watch what trauma you go through, to watch your hurt, your pain, all of that.
But in particular, why do you think that we were chosen? Like, I'm not saying why we were chosen together, but why chosen in general?
That I cannot answer.
Yeah.
They choose people at random like this. I really could not answer why they choose or how they choose. That I don't know.
What about the
All I
second
can
story? Why
all
was
I
I
can
chosen for that?
that was because they were trying to they're in their process of trying to gain back humanity. They're trying to integrate the gray DNA, also reptilian DNA, with humans to try to get back those emotions. That's another way they are trying to figure out how to get those emotions back. So they figure if they throw some human DNA, they get the emotions back like that.
But why me?
That I do not
Why
have the
you?
answer to. I cannot
That,
answer
that,
why you, particularly.
and
It's why anybody. They
let me,
choose different people.
yeah, put it this way. I know a person I met many years ago, Bud Hopkins. He's a well-known hypnotist who wrote books about people that were abducted for many different reasons. There was a woman named Linda out in New York who I met at a UFO conference. He wrote a book about her. She was taken aboard a spaceship on a high skyscraper apartment complex. They beamed her up from the window of her building into a spaceship. She was abducted. Okay. No one knows, to read abduction stories, they're all different. Everybody who's been an abductee in the last 30 years, they've all had different stories, and they're all very different. Some of them are similar, but not totally. So the things that you went through, it's really hard to say why. When you say why did they choose me, I don't think anybody can really kind of give you that answer. The only thing you can possibly do is go through meditation and through like just quiet meditation. Say to yourself, why was I abducted? Because there was an abduction. It wasn't like this contactee experience. You were abducted. So in your case, what you need to do is take the time to meditate, use some peaceful music, and go within yourself, learn how to meditate, and say, I want to just ask your higher self, ask yourself, why was I abducted? Why was I taken? The answer lies within you. It's inside your consciousness. That part of it will be in your consciousness that's locked right now. When you remember the locked part of that consciousness, I guarantee you, if you do the meditation, that you will actually remember the reason why you were taken. that answer will be within you. It's not something that we can particularly. April and I can answer a lot of questions, but this thing is the conscious part of it that you don't remember is within you. It's all within you. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I want you to do something for me. I want you to, from here on in, go into do 30-minute meditations and just say that I'm going within Christ consciousness. I want to understand, why was I abducted? Why was I taken? The answer lays in your consciousness. It's just basically blocked right now. As much as you remember all these things, the one thing that's blocked is why. But it's inside of you. It's always been there. You have to just take the time to look for it. Do you understand that?
Yes. But
Okay. Will you do that? Will you actually take the time to do that for yourself?
yes, I will.
Good. Good, good, good.
But why? But why? Why would they do that with like I was an adult and they were a minor?
Well, that's again, the answer again lies within your consciousness. If you go into meditation, you can ask that why, and you'll have the answer within you. Those are parts of the answers that are blocked, but you can go within and unlock those answers within you.
And
What do
You'll
you?
find the answers.
I know it sounds far fetched, but what he's talking about is the truth. You will get those answers if you do those meditations.
Would
I
you have
promise
any?
you will.
You have any answer for that or
I, I,
comment?
I don't have an answer as to why you, because that
No, the
only
answer
you
about
can.
why. Why did they make it? I was an adult and he was a minor.
That I don't have an answer to.
Yeah. See.
The only thing I can think of is because the male gender is more potent at that age. That's
But
the
it's not
only
like.
thing.
But it's not like they were gonna take anything from us.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't have those answers for you.
Yeah.
I wish I
That's,
did. I wish I could
you know,
answer that for you.
Julia, you really need to focus on the meditation aspect. That is going to, all the answers you seek with outside of yourself, some of them we were able to answer. These specific things you're going to need to meditate. You're going to have to go within yourself and do the meditation. If you do that, I guarantee you at some point, I want you to, someone actually mentioned something about keeping a journal. Ashley, I think, did. Keep a journal after your meditation of what comes back, what you remember about that why, the question why. And in each why answer, write down what that was. And if you do that, you will put together a puzzle that will give you the answers to why. It's all within you. You have to focus on within you, not outside of you. You will get the answers. I guarantee it.
You think there's people living on Earth that are really aliens disguised as humans?
Well, there's no such thing as aliens. There are people on Earth that are not from Earth, that are starseed, that are humans, but they are also starseed. There are
No,
people on Earth.
like the concept of like Men in Black, where they're in a disguise and they can pull off their human suit and they're really an alien.
Well, there's no aliens, but they can pull off a suit. If you want to go by the Hollywood version of Men in Black, again, understand it's a Hollywood movie.
No, I know. I'm
There
just.
are people that are shapeshifters, yes, that do exist that can pass for human, but they're shapeshifters, and even those beings are being taken off the planet. They're not. They're part of the whole thing of trying to elude who they really are. And the true beings of light will never elude who they are. They'll just be right in your face and say, "I am from planet so and so. I'm here to help you." Versus the ones that are shapeshifters.
Do you think any of the politicians are really reptilians?
All those stories out there. There might be. I don't really focus on that too much. I just really focus on my show and trying to help people. When we, in this situation with you, I know there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and stuff about people in office, and there might be some of that going on, but they'll be, if they are doing that, they will be revealed and exposed. But other than that, I would definitely say just focus as we're getting close to 2 in the morning, I'm going to like wind down the show here. Just focus on meditation. Also, people are at 69.7. We'd like to get up to 100,000 before 2 a.m. So I would like everybody to focus on that. We appreciate the gifts too. It's been a long night. We got on here 11:30, and so if you can gift us in support of what we're doing here on Encounters and or what have you, that would be great. If you have TikTok coins in abundance, you can use any kind of TikTok gift you wish. We appreciate all the gifts through the night, and yeah. So with that said, I would just give you any closing suggestions. On my part is I'm really being told to have you meditate and ask, and the answers to your why question will be within you.
So
And I'll pass it over to April
the,
too
the,
after to give her any last.
the second story that happened to me, does that happen to a lot of people?
It doesn't happen
Um,
to a lot of people, but it does. Things like that have happened.
What about the first story?
I don't know. I
yeah.
don't know that people.
I mean, if you read books by Bud Hopkins, I suggest the name Bud Hopkins. He's got books out that are in paperback. If you want to learn about other people's abduction stories, his books are phenomenal in terms of the John Mack. He's no longer alive. He was at Harvard University. He had written books about people's abductions, and Bud Hopkins. Those two authors, you can learn a little bit about the history of other people's similar or not connected similar abductions that were done by these type of beings. Yeah, but it is getting kind of late here, so
Well,
Julie,
nice
we'd like to
talking to
thank
you,
you for being
April.
here.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking to you too. And if you need to reach out, feel free to reach out to me.
I will. Did
All
you have
right.
any stories similar to mine or no?
Do I have any stories similar to? No, I've never been.
Nothing
I
like
have
that,
never
no.
been abducted. I'm a contactee.
So
Yeah.
you've never been abducted? You
I've
never
never
had
Nope.
been.
sex with that? So you've never had sex with any of these people who have
No,
been abducted?
no.
No, she works with the Ashtar Command. They don't do that. Ashtar Command are space beings of light. Different. They're Christed beings of light. So that's a very different experience. And including myself, I've never had that happen. I work with a very direct spiritual level of light. So yeah, neither one of us ever had those. Never will have those experiences.
No.
All right, Julie.
How do
Well,
you
I
know
thank you
you?
for being here.
Okay, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right, Julie. Have a great night. All right.
You too. Bye.
Okay, let's do this here. All right. It's complicated. She's been through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And yeah, she needs to really go within, April. I think she needs to meditate on the things I mentioned.
I'm in absolute agreement with you because she's going to find those answers because she has them within herself, and she just needs to find them.
I
And
think we, tried to help her. I think we helped her enough with what we could help her with.
yeah.
But as you'll find with both of us and on the show when I'm on here, if I don't know the answers to something, I will not,
Mm-hmm.
not try to get into it, I know I'm going to have James on tomorrow night, Sunday night. So, James, if you hold the story till tomorrow night, we'd like to have you on tomorrow night after 11. And we will definitely do an interview with you for sure, brother. We're at 77.7. We need to get to 100,000, and we have 258 beautiful people all over the world. If everybody taps on their thing here, we can get up to 100,000 pretty quick. We're at 78.1. Since I've been on here, we've gotten 6,200 people viewing the show. So we want to thank all 6,200 people for since 11:30 coming in here and watching the show. We can do a quick interview with James here before 2. Let me see if I can bring him up here.
Okay, Commander, I'm going to hop down. Let you do your thing.
All right, and then James will be last interview. Then we're gonna be signing off the show here. Thanks, April, for helping out
You're very
with
welcome.
answers. All right, have a good night. All right.
You too. I'm here. Just I'll be.
You'll be here listening. So let me see. James, let me go back to where James is. Here he is. James. So we got James on here. Just to let people know the way it operates here. No foul language, no smoking, no drinking, no paranormal discussions, and you have to be over 18. Good evening, James.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Uh,
Good evening. Welcome.
no, she had some, good stories, but mine, it's basically one story. I'm from the Appalachian region, and
Okay.
the trails and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, goes on around here. Uh, but no, I was out on a highway going to pick my brother up one night, and I didn't know where I was at. Because I live in a holler and stuff, and he was way out in the city. And then I saw one of the triangular UFOs, and this thing was huge. It was massive. It's probably like 3 or 4 football fields. I mean, uh, you could put, aircraft carriers, you know, at least 3 on top of it, and it was hovering so low, probably about like 300, 500 feet, and that's low. So I got out. I was shaking. I didn't know what to think. I've never saw nothing like that. But anyway, short story. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, I'm trying to tell a short story right now. I know you got to get off. But anyways,
You're good.
this thing was massive, and then uh, I got out, got on the side of the road, and I was looking up at it, and it was like, bam, I was just gone, you know. And when I woke up, uh, I was not all the way, coherent. I was all the way awake, but I seen all these kids, and that's really what hurt me was seeing all these kids, and the people that I seen was just like us. If they weren't hybrids or whatever, actual, us. I don't know
Hmm.
what they were, but I seen all them
Were they
kids.
on
I
this?
seen all them kids,
James,
and it just, oh
were
man.
they on this? Were they on the spaceship?
I'm guessing, man. I don't know. I'm just
Hmm.
telling you my point of view, but I wasn't coherent, so I'm I was in and out of it, and but I seen some people in stasis
Hmm.
in another room. Uh, I didn't get a whole good look at them, but they were in stasis, kind of like they were growing them or something or
Hmm.
whatever. But the kids, they weren't in cages. They were kind of like cubicles. Uh, I mean, uh, it was it was weird. And then I ended up waking up back in my car in the driver's seat,
Hmm.
and I knew I got out of my car, as this thing was, coming across. And this
Yeah.
thing was huge, huge. And you didn't even hear it. I mean, it, it blocked out the moonlight, everything, and it was just crazy. I tried to tell my family about it. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I told my brother about it because it was him I needed to pick up, and
Hmm.
it was
So,
it was weird.
so were you physically? I got to jump in here. Were you physically taken aboard this ship? How did that happen?
Shit. Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah,
Were
I'm
you
guessing.
so like were you beamed up? How did they take you?
I don't know. It just like a snap, and I was gone. But I was outside of my car looking up, and I was so amazed. I was like, "Wow, man, what is this?" And then
Yeah.
like boom, kind of like
So
anesthesia. You're out of it.
when you saw the kids, did you see any adults like men and women?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You did, and
They were just like
were
us.
they human like us?
Yeah, yeah. Down to the T. Yeah.
Okay, so
And I don't
when
know
you
if they were human or if they were hybrids or what. But that stasis room that they had, I mean, it wasn't real big, but they had they had that room.
hmm,
Like I said, I wasn't coherent the whole time.
right,
I was coming in and out of it, you know. And
you
then
know that
boom, I was in the driver's seat of my car.
now. It's interesting you mentioned the word stasis. So, for example, stasis, the beings that you saw that were in stasis, what did they look like? Us?
Oh yeah, they were human. Yeah,
They
they
were
were
human.
safe. They were
Okay,
sapiens. Sapien,
okay.
sapien. Yeah.
So, did you feel like the beings, the space people that had you on the ship, did they communicate with you or anything like that?
No, I know. No,
No communications.
no, no.
Interesting.
Uh, I think some type of catheter was placed on me, and then I was getting vitals. I think. Of course, I was in
You
and out of
you were getting what now?
it. I was getting vitals, and I'm thinking it was something like a catheter,
Hmm.
but it wasn't a catheter. But yeah, it was weird. But
So,
the only thing that freaked me out was because uh, a blink of an eye, I was back in the driver's seat of my car,
right, right.
and I got out to see this thing, and I mean it
Hmm.
was huge, like 3 or 4 football fields,
Yeah.
triangular, huge,
And
and the
this is up
people
in the mountains, up in the Appalachian Mountains, correct?
yeah,
Yeah, it's been a lot of activity up there in the
and the people
Appalachians.
I seen, they were human. They wasn't. I don't know if they were hybrids. I don't know what,
Hmm.
but they were human. They wasn't, like 8 feet tall with big old bulging heads or
They were
eyes or
human.
anything like that. They were human. Yes.
Um, how tall are they?
I don't know. Maybe like 5'9" to 6 foot.
Okay.
They were. They
And
was
were
your
they both
typical.
men and women?
They was just men.
Just men. That's
Yeah.
interesting. There was
That's
no
how I
women on
feel.
the ship.
No, I didn't see any females.
Hmm.
But that
And
stasis
what?
room really freaked me out. And then kids that I seen, they were human. I knew they was, but they just kept on like they weren't
Hmm,
caged in a cage per se, but
right.
they was in a dome of some sort.
Hmm. One of our viewers is saying, so was the ship triangular, this big ship, or was it not
Yeah,
triangular?
it was huge. It was huge.
But was it triangular?
The triangular had a red light, at the front, and two, in both corners in the back, and you could
Hmm.
not hear it. And I mean, it blocked out all the moonlight, everything. But the crazy
So
thing
were these
was,
kids you?
sorry,
No, were the kids you saw boys and girls, or just one gender or
mix,
the other?
mix.
Okay, so the kids were mixed, but the adults that you saw, were they wearing kind of space outfits or anything?
They were wearing all black,
They're wearing all blue. That's interesting.
black, black, not
They're
blue.
wearing black. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they wasn't like no special space suits or anything. They were just.
Hmm.
I wasn't coherent through the whole time. I was just waking up and stuff.
Hmm.
But I know they done a catheterization or
Yeah.
something on me. checking my vitals and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I passed that stasis room, I'm guessing it's the stasis room.
Right.
Yeah, that really, it freaked me out. The first thing
Wow.
freaked me out was all the kids that I seen.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're gonna have to have you back on in an earlier evening to share more about this, and I'll try to read into it to try to help you here.
Yeah,
So,
brother. Try it out.
well, I appreciate you coming on here, James. I'm glad I did put you on here. I appreciate your story,
Yeah, thank you.
and we're gonna have to analyze this more. I'll have you back on. We'll talk more about it because I'm surprised there were no women, like adult women, just the men. There must have been women
No,
somewhere
I
on this
didn't
big
see
ship.
any. I didn't
The
see
what?
any unless I didn't see any because I wasn't fully coherent, you know.
Okay,
But
you weren't fully coherent.
I
Okay.
didn't see any long hair or nothing like that, you know.
Yeah.
Normally you take from a female or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But no, they had black suits on. It was all
Hmm.
black, everything. No
Yeah.
hats.
It's unusual. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking there are women on the ship. If it's that big a ship, they just weren't in where you were. I can't. I just get the feeling, why would there not be any women space people on that ship and just men and these children?
If you
Um,
take these aircraft carriers, you could probably the width of it, probably put 3 or 4, you know, just in the width alone. I mean,
mhm.
this thing was huge. It was
Wow.
huge. And I was in and out of it the whole time. So, I mean,
Yes. If you were fully conscious, you might have been able to see more than you were able to see.
the only thing freaked me out was when I showed up, back in my car. And
Hmm.
I remember, vaguely, some stuff. So
Mm.
that was just me putting it in a nutshell for tonight. So,
All right,
but no,
James. Well,
that stasis room was weird.
yeah.
It looked weird anyway.
I know what a stasis room is because we've talked about that, about the stasis bodies that are space bodies are in stasis in the
And
astral
I don't know
command
if it's
unit.
male or female or not. It was
Yeah.
just, I just seen it.
All right. Well, we're gonna getting it's a little bit after 2.
Oh,
So I want
yeah.
to thank James. You're my last guest for the evening here, but I want to
All
thank
right,
you
buddy. Thank
for
you.
sharing that story, man.
All right. Thank
Keep
you.
us informed if anything else happens with interaction. Matter of fact, if you want to remember the way you do remember, if you go to meditate, you can meditate in and say, I'm a Christ, being of light. I wish to remember in full consciousness what actually was on the ship, whether other people on the ship, whether women on the ship. So if you tune into your consciousness through meditation, let me know what happens.
Yeah, it kind of freaked me out, man.
Yeah.
I, I've been trying to forget it, for
Yeah.
all these years. But not, oh, in Appalachian, we got these skinwalkers, and they are real, they're real. I know you said no paranormal, but they are
Yeah, I
real
don't
up
want to get into that now, but I do understand about that. Well,
here.
maybe
Thank y'all.
one time we'll get into that. We kind of stay away from those guys, but I appreciate it, James.
All right, thank y'all. Have a good
All right,
night.
you
Good
too.
morning.
Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it very much. Let's see here, and I'm not going to do any more interviews tonight. I want to thank everybody for your being here. We've got. I want to pin my goals here. I'd like to complete the gifting of the hat with the mustache. I have 3 more of those available on the shelf. So we definitely appreciate your gifts and support for encounters for the commander, which is me. And if you are, this is a show that we do normally at 11 p.m. nightly. We came on 11:35. That's what happens when I get the honey. And when we talk about these things, we understand that so many people have so many different stories to tell. And it's really important to get that message out. That's why this show is disclosure, because you won't hear these stories in real time anywhere, But I do have one more hat to go on the shelf, and it is ready to be tarred. Honey McReynolds, you're amazing. So he just said, did this here. I'm going to do one more thing towards the end of my night here, but I'm going to see if I can do this quickly. We're going to set up a new goal, and we're going to do the cowboy hat. This is without we're going to do 8 of these hats. This is a different hat, and this is also a reasonable hat. We try to do high quality hats here on Encounters. This is more of a disco kind of cowboy colorful hat, and we have 8 of those. I want to see how quickly 8 of those will go. Now, if you don't know how to use your TikTok coins on TikTok, if you have them, you just pick the gift that you want to give me. I have it already set up here, and there it is. Sort of like a disco hat. I like that hat a lot. Has a lot of brightness to it. It's not a Tahar hat, but it's a beautiful hat. And I have now 7 more of those I wish to get rid of. Let's see. Made from genuine leather. That's right. So if there's 7 more people that know what to do with their TikTok coins, you can do it. Karen Morgan, thank you. Crystal, thank you for the roses. We appreciate it. See? And now I've learned to move my head like this once I get one of those hats. Almost like a bobblehead. Interesting. How many more hats do I have left here? Let's see. We have 5 more hats left. So I will do the traditional commander movement of my head with the hat. So if I get a hat, I will move my head. Karen Morgan, I will try not to do that. Yeah, something when that hat goes on my head, I have automatic movement of my to the right, to the left. Thank you, Karen. Tommy, thank you for the love you thing. I appreciate it, Tommy. As a first gifter, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody out here. And Karen Morgan. Now I've stopped. My head just, thank you for the roses, Blessed. Thank you. Appreciate that so much. So we have 3 more hats available. If I get the hats, I will do the commander's new bobbling head movement. But I have to have the hat on me in order to do that. I can't just automatically do it. It's one of those things. Thank you, Blessed. We appreciate you and everybody out here. And you can send me any gift you wish from the TikTok gift list. That's up to you. Roses, whales going through the sea, whatever you wish to do. But your support means a lot. Karen Morgan, thank you. I have 2 more hats to go. 2 more. Debbie, thank you. My brain, my consciousness is still intact. I still have a brain. So, Karen Morgan, thank you for the heart, me, Blessed. Thank you. And we had another great show tonight. We could put Commander Bobby bobbleheads in the TikTok shop. Probably, Honey McReynolds, you probably could. Jared, thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate y'all. I just want you to know I love y'all, all the new people, all the people that are regulars. Thanks for finding our show. All our guests. We had some phenomenal guests tonight. And Jeanette, thank you for the heart me. We appreciate it. I'll be on the radio. Well, maybe. I don't know. I might be on the radio tomorrow. Not sure what's happening Sunday morning. In any case, everybody have a blessed night. And we will be on tomorrow night at 11 p.m. with another edition of Encounters. Thank you for the high bear, blessed. Thank you so much. And if you have not done any gifting before and you have TikTok coins, now I'm going to leave it as a free-for-all. I want to see who could gift the most gifts, whoever you are, wherever you are around the world. So if you have TikTok coins and you say, I like this commander. I like this show, this Encounters. I think I'm going to throw a gift at them. It can be a teddy bear, a heart. It could be a rose, lightning bolts, all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's up to you. But other than that, we appreciate everybody. Thank you for being here. We're going to sign out of here. We'll be on tomorrow night. And you all have a good morning. And if you go off planet tonight, keep a journal, when you come back. Thank you, Chef Ginger, for the heart hand heart. Heart hand heart. It's a heart. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Take care. And we had 6.9 thousand viewers tonight since 11:30. Remember, the 6.9 thousand people. Thank you for that, Honey McNarls. Thank you. We're going to get out of here and go to sleep. We'll catch you all tomorrow night. Take care. We're going to try to get out of here.